Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, fans, and patrons, it is I, Seamus Coughlin, the Mac Daddy of Freedomtoons. You may be wondering why you're seeing my ugly mug as opposed to the idealized animated caricature that I usually appear in the form of. And that is because I am bringing to you the 100,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscriber special, where I'm going to be taking your questions, answering them. And obviously, that's something I can't animate. It has to be live. So comment with any questions you have. But first, I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I genuinely cannot believe that I have reached 100,000 subscribers, and this has been very exciting for me. And I'd also like to thank everyone donating on Patreon. People who are donating on Patreon will have their questions answered first. So while I kind of give myself a moment to familiarize myself with the technicals here, just type any questions that you have down in the comments, and I will get to answering as many of them as possible. And once again, thank you all so much because I love y'all. So I am being told that the camera is on. You guys can't see my face, which is probably a good thing for your sake. Interestingly enough, on my end, in the actual Google Hangout, my face is appearing. Let me see what I can do to fix this. I'm not sure why my face isn't showing up. I think YouTube might be censoring it. But yeah, that's interesting. We're having some weird technical difficulties right now. So can any of you who can see my face let me know? I'm looking at the chat right now. Are you able to see my face now? Yeah, is that happening? Yep, it's there. Okay, you can see me. Wow. Okay, so I am absolutely thrilled at the amount of feedback I'm getting here. Quite a few messages are popping up in the chat here. I'm not going to have time to get to all of them, I'm realizing, but I want to try to field as many as I can. So now that y'all can see me, I am going to restate my gratitude. Thank you all so much for subscribing to the channel. I love doing what I do. It's certainly been a long journey. I can get into how I started with Freedomtoons, the humble beginnings where we are now and where I believe we're headed in a bit. But all y'all need to know for right now is I couldn't be doing it without the audience. Definitely couldn't be doing it without the patrons. And I'm going to repeat myself once again. I love you guys. Thank you. You're awesome. And hopefully this will be an interesting opportunity for you guys to get to know me a little bit better, because you usually only see me in the form of a cartoon character. Do a Freedomtoons Austin Peterson, show Bob's and Vagine. What should I eat today? I love you, my sweet baby boy. Our trap's gay. Seamus, would you be interested in a conservative and libertarian rap? Capitalism is evil. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of shit posting here. So I'm going to move on over to Patreon and field some of the questions which I received from my patrons, because that takes precedence. These lovely people are making a financial commitment to Freedomtoons and are making a sacrifice so that I can continue to help make these videos. So they deserve to have their questions answered first. And far fewer of them shit posted, I should mention. I got some legit questions, and I'm sure I'll get some legit questions from you guys. I think we're all a little bit excited here. So I'm gonna give the stream a little bit of time to calm down before I get back to reading it. So one question from one of my donors, Gary. I don't want to read his full name because I don't want to dox him, and he didn't mention whether or not he'd be comfortable with that. So his question is, why do we not hear anything about congressional term limits? I've gotten one of Trump's earliest contract with America sheets, and it's #1 on the list. What happened? Well, I think the quick and jaded and somewhat cynical answer is because politicians lie. Everything they say is to be taken with not just a grain of salt, but an entire brick of it. And Trump is no exception to that rule. Another question I got is, hold on, I lost it. I'm sorry. See, you know, for somebody who works with computers, I find I'm pretty horrible with them. Here's another question. I don't need these questions answered. This is from Tim, who is actually donating a very generous $100 a month. So thank you very much for that, Tim. I don't need these questions answered, but in case you have nothing at the start, one, what type of software do you use in your process? This is a good question. So I usually write with Google's Google Docs. I'm sorry. See, I'm blanking on the name. Yeah, I usually write with Google Docs, and then I'll record the audio in Audacity. I will design and animate almost all of it in Flash. Sometimes I'll do some compositing in After Effects, and then everything is edited with Adobe Premiere. So that's a good question. What do you think of universal basic income? I'm against it, primarily because it would, I imagine the way it's been expressed to me, rely upon state coercion in order to force people in higher income brackets to redistribute their wealth unwillingly to those who did not work for it. And three, where do you see Freedomtoons going in the future? This is a good question. It's something I wanted to get into later, but since you asked, I can jump on in now. I think that Freedomtoons is going to continue growing. Maybe that's just my optimism, but part of why I started doing this is because I understood that conservatives, libertarians, basically anyone to the right of the far left is being horribly underserved and just generally unserved by the mainstream media. Almost everything you see on television has an unabashedly left-leaning bias. And some of it's pretty funny, I'm not going to lie. I do enjoy watching television, and even though oftentimes the perspectives being sort of foisted onto me as I'm really just interested in consuming this entertainment and don't want to think about politics, while that annoys me, sometimes it still makes me laugh. But that being said, after a while, it grates on you. And I think that's part of why Freedomtoons has been growing in popularity so much, because people like cartoons, people like comedy, people like satire. And people are also really sick and tired of having the dominant media culture force this new status quo onto the public. And I get that Freedomtoons doesn't necessarily counteract that in the sense that I'm just producing content which is entertaining and non-political. There is a political bent to this, but I like to think it's going into I like to think it's helping sort of balance everything out just a little bit. So let me look at some other questions. One person had a really interesting question about something Stefan Molyneux had said, and I want to get to that before I get back into the super chat. Okay, I'm having trouble finding it, so I apologize. But I really do have to answer this question first because it was asked by a patron. Excuse me. Let me try to pull it up. If I can't find it, I remember what it was about. I believe it dealt with some of Stefan Molyneux's really recent and controversial statements on restricting immigration on the basis of ethnicity. I haven't seen the video. I'm not sure if that's exactly what he was saying. So it's going to be a bit difficult for me to respond to that, though my opinion was asked on it. I would say that as a general rule, when it comes to the question of immigration, I think open borders would be great if we didn't have a massive welfare state. That being said, I think the solution to that problem is eliminating the welfare state. I mean, obviously, that would be tremendously less expensive and more libertarian. Now, let me get to the questions in the super chat, because that actually appears to be all the questions that I got from my patrons. So I actually lost the link, so let me open this back up. And by the way, 500 viewers right now, kind of incredible and humbling, really. Oh, wow. By the way, we got a $5 donation, which I appreciate very much. And again, I want to thank everybody donating. I apologize stumbling across my words because the super chat is moving and these new comments keep popping up and they distract me. So I'm just going to look away from the super chat for a moment. If you know, I'm kind of avoiding that for the time being. And yeah, I just want to mention that I'm extremely grateful for everybody who's donating to Freedomtoons, whether that's through Patreon or PayPal or within the super chat. Again, as I mentioned, we just pulled in about $5 in donations, which is very generous. One person decided to send that my way. If you're curious, let me explain how the money helps. So I work full-time in animation. I'm a freelance animator, small business owner, and I have to pay my rent. I got to pay my bills. And I also have to make Freedomtoons, so that's quite a lot to juggle. And presently, I'm actually still a student, so there's a bit on my plate here, and that's not even to mention a lot of the personal projects I'm working on. But the point is, if I'm pulling in X amount of money from Freedomtoons per month, that's X amount of money I don't need to seek out clients to earn in order to have my needs met. And so the more money I pull in on Patreon, the more time I'm able to focus on producing more of these cartoons. And the more I'm able to outsource work. You may notice at the end of videos when I have the little call to action asking people to donate, there will generally be credits. That's because there are a number of freelancers who I will hire to complete certain parts of the animation production process for Freedomtoons videos because I can't do it all on my own. And weekly uploads to an animation channel, as far as I'm aware of, is totally unheard of. I actually don't know of anyone that's doing that right now. I think Freedomtoons is the only operation pulling that off. I could be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, that's the case. And I'm not sure if you have all heard of Adpocalypse. YouTube has been demonetizing politically controversial content. A lot of my videos have been demonetized as a result of that. And even without the Adpocalypse having occurred, animation has been really treated poorly on YouTube for the past several years. They actually modified their algorithm, and it now functions such that you're paid based on the amount of time people spend watching your videos as opposed to the amount of views that you get. So if you pump out a 40-minute video and get 1,000 people to watch that, you could potentially be making more money than someone who produces a 2-minute long animated video and gets 10 or 20 or 100,000 people to watch it, because YouTube cares more about how much time is spent watching it. And obviously, when you're producing something as expensive and time consuming as animation, you can't really produce long form content like that. And so I really rely almost entirely on Patreon, and will be relying in the future on sale of merchandise, which I'm hoping to get into soon. Good point. Video on Alex Jones. Animations are treated badly. It's true. Can't confirm. You're an animal with that upload frequency. Keep it up. I appreciate that, Avery. I've never seen a video from you with an ad. Oh, man. Maybe you're using ad blocker. And maybe it's also YouTube. And wow. Okay. I believe I just got 2 $100 donations here. So thank you so much. Hey, Seamus, one of your Patreons asked a question on the comments of the link and your post on. Oh, okay. I'll check it out. Rave Dubin commented that, by the way. What's your stand on Bitcoin and other crypto? I will get to that in a moment. But I do appreciate that. So that's from a donor. And by the way, guys, hold on. I lost it. This is from Simon. What's your stream on Bitcoin and other crypto? I will get to that in a moment after I get to Rave's question, because he's saying someone on Patreon just posted a question. But I suppose I can still ask it, given that you're clearly donating a generous amount. I believe that Bitcoin is certainly valuable for a number of reasons. I don't know that it's valuable at the current market price. I know there's certainly been some corrections in the past. It's extremely volatile. I do have some Bitcoin. I haven't actually purchased any Bitcoin in my life. I've just had some donated to me in the past. It's actually funny. When I first started doing this back in about 2014, I had some people donate like, 25 cents or 50 cents in Bitcoin to me here and there using ChangeTip, which no longer exists as far as I'm aware. And I accumulated about $14. And then I checked my Bitcoin wallet not long ago, and it was worth like 2 or 3 grand. So it exploded. And, I'm not sure where the equilibrium is. I don't know what Bitcoin will be worth, but I think whether or not it's a valuable investment, it is a valuable tool. I think that it's really incredible to have a totally decentralized currency, and I believe there's a whole lot of value in that. So let me move back to Patreon and answer the one of the questions that was asked here. Yikes. Okay, I have a lot of notifications from Patreon. My apologies, folks. I'm trying to keep track of so many things at once. And I just got a new pledge from Oliver. Thank you. Okay. Let me pull this back up. And I've also noticed in the super chat, a lot of you are asking for me to do the different impressions and voices that I do in these videos. That will happen. I will do that. Just not at this exact moment. I need to field some of these questions first. And my internet is lagging, which is great. Okay. Oh, 100 rupees, whatever. That's still, I was told that the donation I saw that said 100 wasn't $100, it was 100 rupees, but it doesn't matter. Any donation is generous. Okay, if you'll see this. Okay, why do social justice warriors revere Che Guevara, who killed gays, hated blacks, banned music, and burned books? Why are they huge hypocrites when they wear the Che shirt? That's a good question. And the answer to that is because the left's supposed compassion for minorities is generally just a pretext for their hatred of the existing established order. They just want something to shake things up and bring harm to other human beings at some base level. And so even if that person is bringing harm to the groups of people they claim to sympathize with, so long as that person is also upsetting the existing established order and the status quo, they're fine with that, which is sad. But it's true. Maybe I'm being a bit too cynical there, but that just seems to be my take on it. I can't think of any other explanation for why the atrocities committed by the groups that the left sympathizes with are entirely overlooked. Got $5. Kick V. Not sure what. I got another $5. What are your thoughts on the 7 laws of Noah? Have not looked into that. Who's your favorite president? Good question. The live stream experience is real. Yeah, it's true. The live streaming experience is real with me. I apologize. Someone just mentioned I lost $10,000 this week in Bitcoin value. I'm sorry to hear that. Another question. Where do you lean on the political compass? Almost entirely libertarian with heavy conservative sympathies. What that means is that I don't believe that the government should really be interfering in our day-to-day lives, but I personally hold many conservative opinions and beliefs. And of course, the distinction needs to be made that the vast majority of those opinions are not opinions which I would be interested in forcing on others through the state. Seamus, you need to make merch for your tunes. I'll be in line for the I Agree Ruben shirt. So this is an interesting question. I'm actually planning to make merch, but I know that a lot of the characters that I've done, which have been popular, are basically likenesses of people who already exist. So I wonder, like, if I started selling Dave Rubin or Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson cartoon shirts, if I would owe them a chunk of money. I doubt any of them would come to sue me, but it's still a question I try to keep in mind. That being said, I don't want to get too into detail about merch because I have some surprises there. I don't want to spoil them, but you guys will see. Good that your Bitcoin went up from the past. Thank you. I got another $5 donations. Thank you so much. Thoughts on torrents and intellectual property? This is a really good question. IP is actually something that's really controversial amongst libertarians. And personally, my view is that it does exist, but I think it's more complicated than either side of the debate is letting on. My belief is that the best way to handle something like intellectual property is to have some sort of agreement within the content that's being produced, which would suggest that if you're watching this, you won't be monetizing it without giving some kind of kickback to the initial creator. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from somebody who gives virtually all of the content that they produce away for free. And I subsist almost entirely off of the donations. So, this certainly isn't like a self-interested argument I'm making. I get that as someone who produces content, it may be argued that supporting IP is just something that I would be arguing for from self-interest, but I give most of my work away for free. I think that it exists philosophically. Did you know Ben Shapiro's wife is a doctor? No, actually, it's a good point. Hey, so Jackson just donated $5. Hey, I just want to say congrats on 100,000 subs. Love your debates with strawman videos. Keep up the great work you do on this channel. All right, well, thank you so much. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I really genuinely appreciate it, Jackson. To keep up the good work, I don't think the quality should dip. I'm not planning on it. I think that's a fear that most creators have, that at some point down the line, their work will not be what it used to be. But here's to hoping that I'll keep pumping out quality stuff that you guys enjoy. Got another donation here. Ooh, I agree with that from Sebastian. And all right, speaking of that, when I made that video roasting Dave Rubin, I actually did not plan for it to be as mean as it was, or at least I didn't think it was going to be as mean as it was. But upon watching it back and after having received some feedback, I realized that it was pretty savage, and I tore him apart, and I felt kind of bad about it. But then he commented saying, "I agree," and I realized that Dave Rubin is a bro, and I love him, and I'm glad I made the video because the man has a sense of humor about himself, and you can really tell a lot about a person based on whether or not they have a sense of humor about himself. Okay. I apologize, folks. My internet connection is absolutely horrible. This is why we need net neutrality. Um, all right, I'm back though. I think I'm reconnected to the super chat. Freedomtoons has risen. You go. The NSA man got you. That's true. Who else agrees with that? I'm getting a lot of Fs for respect here, which I do appreciate. Pausing again. Okay. What does the F mean? I'm back. I'm back. How do you choose what mannerisms to focus on? And do you practice a lot? I just constantly have conversations with myself as Ben Shapiro because I don't have any real friends. And so I have to invent characters to pretend to like me. Because even the characters I create don't actually like me. They're just pretending. I kid, of course. Generally, what happens with me is once I've consumed enough of another person's work, I'll start to imitate their mannerisms and mannerism out that I know I inadvertently adopted from that person, and I'll sort of place that in a part of my brain which remembers that that will be used in a future impression. Okay. Can I contribute and write ideas for you? From JC. First of all, thank you for the $2. Yeah, I mean, I'm always, people can absolutely offer ideas. I'm not always able to get to them, and when I do, it usually takes a long time. Oh no, we're getting I'm getting a lot of comments about how like my internet is horrible right now. I apologize. And notice this link on my page can join this stream. But here, your hair looks nice today. Thank you. Donate to Freedomtoons so we can get better internet. Yes, please. Incredible last here. Sorry if I've been a bother. You haven't been a bother. Introducing legalize. This is a good question in this guys. I don't believe that the government should be involved with either of those things. That doesn't mean I condone them. I mean, I think drug abuse and prostitution are both immoral, but I wouldn't use the state to force that view onto others. I don't believe either of those things should be illegal. What was your introduction to libertarianism, a book, politician, news article. It's actually Ron Paul, I would say. Well, all right. So first of all, during the 2012 election, this stoner in my Spanish class was always talking about Ron Paul, and I was like, "Who's that? It doesn't matter." But then I looked into what Ron Paul was saying, and I was like, "Oh wow, this guy's legit." We got another $5 donation, so thank you so much. Are you ever going to do a tune on Sargon and the autistic ball pit known as the Skeptics? I don't know. Definitely at some point. I mean, even with are worth parodying, and I do like some of those guys, but yeah, they need to be made fun of. So I will. Will you ever do a Crowder video parody? Yeah, I think so at some point. To lag his internet out. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I'm out. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Sweets. Okay. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to I think I feel and I'll continue to field more in a bit, but for now I'm going to this hangout for my patrons so that they can join in the stream if they dare. If you want to join the stream, click this link. Just know you will be in front of all my subs in real time. Love you. All right, and this is going to be for patrons only. And I'm going to post it into the Freedomtoons Facebook group as well, which is a Facebook group of viewers because I encourage inequality. Let me open. I got to love you guys. This is very generous. I had no idea that this stream would actually be pulling in money like this. I was just going to field some questions, but hey, I'm an experienced streamer. So how reasonable is it to consider financial support of animal agriculture as so it's not. So Simon asks, how reasonable is it to consider financial support of animal agriculture as an initiation of force? Force, or is it equitable skins consider initiate fundation these things privately often or peace? Absolutely. I'm gonna wait till I have some other ideas for some form of currency with a symbol I'm not familiar with because I'm an uncultured American, but regardless, it's a generous donation, so I want to thank you. And I'm going to read your comment. Would you like hearing conservative rap? Also, what are your thoughts on Trump's presidency so far? Love the content. Regardless of the message, at least that's always been my perspective. In terms of Trump's presidency, I think Trump has been a good president insofar as he's lessened government control, and he's best it. I sort of judge him the way I would any other president. In my life, the government is, as a result of his presidency, the worse I consider his performance to be. The less the government is in my life as a result, the better I consider his presidency to be. Now, the tax cuts were phenomenal. I did a video defending those. I think it's great that he did that. So it's been kind of a mixed bag. I don't agree with everything he's done. Some things I like, some things I don't like. Facts of his for me. Joined in the Google Hangout here. So I'm gonna include y'all. How's it going, friends?
Hello.
Hello.
How's it hanging, beautiful people?
Good. How are you?
Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
First of all,
I agree that your network is super broken.
Yeah, you might consider turning your video off.
I mentioned maybe this is better for the stream. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it sounds like it's coming
I mean,
through a little
I
bit more
assume.
consistent.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I apologize, guys. I did not know how horrible my internet was. It's worked in the past, but then again, I've never done a stream like this.
It's all gravy. So, Seamus, I had a question for you. I posted it in Patreon, but I won't make you go back and read it. I was just curious how your audience grew. Pardon? Oh, no.
I apologize.
You're cutting out a little again.
Yeah, we can't hear you at all.
It's been hectic.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just ask my question anyway. I just was curious how you grew your
Okay.
Whoa.
I was just saying that I apologize for not getting to what you posted.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. Man. No problem. Yeah, I was just I was just curious how you grew your audience so big. If it was just you constantly doing videos and uploading them and just getting it that way naturally, or if you took specific measures to grow your audience.
That's a good question. Honestly, it was mostly just uploading content consistently.
Cool, man.
Once I started uploading videos once per week, the channel really exploded. And there was a period of time in the past where I did that. I think about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, I had about 10 videos saved up. So I uploaded videos once a week for about 10 weeks. And the channel really, really blew up at that point to, I think, like 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers from, like 100 or 200. And then I started doing it again after I hit 20,000 subs. And now here I am at 100,000. So really, I think consistency is the name of the game.
Cool. Yeah, I do stop motion animations as well. And they're pretty time consuming. So I was just I'm trying to pump out one a week, but it's hard to keep on that deadline.
Here's a trick that I would recommend, and this is what I do with Freedomtoons often. I just make a bunch of videos at once, and then I hold on to them so that I can release them once a week, but I'm not always doing one video every single week, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Cool, man. Thanks, thanks for answering that.
Oh, of course. And stop motion isn't easy. Send me some of your stuff. I'd love to take a look.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a chat here?
Just send it. Well, if you're a patron, so you can just send me it on Patreon.
Cool thing, man.
Yeah, of course. So, yachts are a human right. That's one of the things that just got posted in the super chat, so I had to read in that voice. Hey, here's a fun game for people in the super chat. If you post a quote from one of my videos, I will read it in the voice of that character. So, anyone else from Patreon have any questions you want to say?
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you, Christina. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I was just wondering if my mic was working.
Yeah.
So I also posted a question on one of the comments, but while you were doing the chat, so you probably didn't see it. And I did see a lot of other people in the YouTube chat kind of allude to this, but I was wondering what your thoughts were on the compatibility or not compatibility of libertarian thought with Catholic social teaching.
Libertarian thought with what?
Catholic social teaching?
Oh, so that's a good question. Again, this kind of ties back into what I was mentioning about having very socially conservative views, but not necessarily wanting to use the state to force those onto others. So there are, again, prostitute use, which I'm against those things personally, but I wouldn't force my beliefs onto others through the states. Through the state, I believe that's there are issues such as abortion, for example, I genuinely, I do think
You are so breaking up.
the government does have right or duty to step in and prevent happening.
Right.
Because
I think I can piece
all
together
money
some
others
of
to the
what I
state,
heard
but
from that answer.
hello? Am I
Hey, I could barely hear any of
breaking
that.
up? Oh my gosh. This,
There's someone called
I think,
Bets Trump who has this video on. If you can turn off his
NSA
video,
is trying to. I think the NSA.
someone has their
is,
video on.
Is there radio?
Me.
Someone gonna just hide them from broadcast until they turn their video off. Okay, so
Yeah.
can y'all hear me now? Is this good? Is this working?
Yeah,
This is
I can
Yes.
hear you.
good.
Yep, coming through clear.
Okay, great. Yeah, the question of how does libertarianism tie into Catholic social teaching? That we
I guess your answer is robot voices.
Yeah, that's what it
I
seems
think
like.
such as abortion, the result of the way that it's.
Gosh, I cannot believe it.
Hey, Seamus, you're still breaking up something terrible, man.
Yeah, it's like
What do I do?
Everyone else is coming
as
through
soon as
clear.
you ask, "Can you hear me? Is everything fine?" All of a sudden, your audio is perfect, and then when you actually start trying
Yeah.
to talk, it evolves again.
Everyone else
This
is
is-
coming through nice and clear, so it's kind of bizarre.
I'm obviously being throttled by YouTube.
That's obviously
I
what's
think you're
going on.
throttling. I think you're bit touring potatoes, aren't you?
All right, this is absurd. I'm sorry, friends. I'm just gonna. I'm typing in the super chat now. All right. So, I'm not sure how much of my previous answer came through. I'm not sure what I need to restate before moving on to the next question. I apologize. There
Yeah,
again. Yes, ask again.
Sorry. No, I think from what I could piece together, you're saying that it's something that you don't think is in the government's, like, it's not supposed to be in the realm of government, but there are some things such as abortion, which you say are actually, it's a matter of actually protecting people's rights. So you're fine with the government regulating that and getting into that territory. Is that accurate?
Basically, yes, yeah. So basically, my general idea is that, or my general belief on this is I'm not a big fan of government, but for as long as I'm saddled with one, I would like it to prevent murder and property destruction and theft and that kind of thing.
All right.
All right. Hey, do you think women are funny or not? Yeah, I think a lot of women are funny. It depends. I mean, if you look at averages, I think you'll find that men tend to be more funny more often, but there are exceptions to the rule. Of course, I've had many female friends who were hilarious because I tend to be friends with people who can make me laugh. People. Okay.
No robot
Seamus, can I get the next topic?
Any questions? No, oh my god! I genuinely. Yeah.
Wow, this is so bad. I'm just gonna be quiet till for yourself.
So I'm gonna try to close every single thing until not.
I see this question about the memo. Yeah, I kind of looked over it. I'm Canadian, so I'm not kind of directly affected by it. But from what I see, yeah, it's pretty damning on the Democratic Party. But I'd be surprised if anyone goes to jail for it. Like, really? I don't think anybody's actually going to get punished for it. And if they do, it's going to be like some nobody.
Or people ever face consequences for their actions. Exactly. That's what always happens. And that was Rob Blagojevich's and Governor Ryan's. And in both cases, people who were basically underlings took the brunt of the punishment. And there were actually some people my family knew who got in trouble when they weren't really as heavily involved as they were painted as being.
Yeah, it's kind of what I expect is going to happen here. And not to overtake this, but that question was from Nicholas McNamar in the super chat there, $5.
Well, thank you, Nicholas. Very much appreciated. Yeah, you guys are just going to have to read to me what the super chat says because I cannot have that tab open, unfortunately. Hey, Seamus, can I please ask the community a question about setting up a community chat room forum? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, Rave Dubin.
Any IRC users on here? Or should I like set up a Slack or something? How many people are going to be interested in a live chat room for Freedomtoons and related discussions?
Oh, like
If
a
you could
permanent
just-
one?
Yeah, like a permanent one.
Huh. Yeah, is
We
that a
can
thing
also
people do? Like, I hear people talking about like Discord servers all the time and stuff. I don't know if that's a thing. I
Discord
don't
works
know
really well.
exactly what that is.
Yeah, like
Discord
a
is a
Discord.
free voice service. You can create your own server, invite lots of people into it. You can moderate it. It's really simple. Works really well.
So I'll ask my roommate if he's doing something really heavy with our internet. If you guys want to take over the stream for a moment, because that could be the problem. Yeah,
No
one
problem.
moment.
Hey, chat. How's it going, guys? How we all doing?
Hey, we're doing
Press
good.
1 in the chat there if you're having a good time. Press 2 if life sucks right now. Let's see. Let's get a poll going on here. It's 5-second delay, so let's see if anybody actually listens. Oh, life is sucking right now for lots of people. Oh man, what a horrible day.
Oh, that's too
No. I see a 3. Someone's break. Oh, I see a couple 3s. One was breaking the mold, and then the rest of them are just followers. Oh, 1.2. Pickle's pretty he's a little clever there. The regressive media. What are we doing? We're just killing time while Seamus sorts his shit out here. Oops.
Okay, I'm back. Is it any better?
It sounds better right
So
now,
far.
but time will tell.
Yeah,
Yep.
who knows? So, my roommate and his girlfriend were watching Netflix, and I just asked them if they could turn it off for a bit, and they did. So I think that should probably help with the bandwidth.
Oh yeah,
Sounds a
that'll
lot
be
better.
good. Yeah, Netflix
Yeah.
takes a whole lot.
Yeah. So, okay. We're actually getting started with the stream now after an hour.
Yay.
I apologize, folks. It looks like we're back on top of things, though. So, with any luck, I'll be able to open the super chat. Some of these questions.
I just have a Discord server. You want to publish the link?
Oh yeah. Oh. Dr. Professor, I agree.
I agree with that. If you're just going to bloody agree with me all of the time, you're never going to catch the snake, man. And if you expect me to believe that you've cleaned your room after destroying my stream, you're sorely mistaken, bucko.
You gotta sort yourself out there.
You gotta bloody sort yourself out. I love Peterson. I really do. And
So
here's
you're saying. So what you're saying is people should have dirty rooms? Is that what you're
Not
saying?
at all.
Yes.
No.
Yes, basically. Yes. The bloody snake killed my father, so I rescued him from the underworld. Did the Canadian Lego guy say that he has a YouTube channel? And if so, what is it?
Oh, yeah, my YouTube channel is, oh, wow, thank you. Someone super chatting that. It is called Brick Off Animations. I just, in about September, I started teaching myself stop motion animation. and my goal was to, actually do something with it. And then within a couple months, I started getting some commissions. So I mostly make stupid little silly cartoons. You can go check them out and see if you like them.
Yeah, we've actually talked about this before
make
too. When you first started donating, we chatted about that a bit. But also, CV Taxi donated $5, so thank you. What were you saying, Jim? I totally cut you off.
Nothing.
Happy Thanksgiving, folks. Happy Thanksgiving.
I didn't think your Thunderfoot voice was good. I'm sorry. It's okay. You don't have to. If you didn't think my Thunderfoot voice was good, you know what? I'll be honest.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, the Reuben was not
was
great.
on
I'll
point.
get not all of those impressions were great, but I think the Thunderfoot was solid.
Yeah, you got like the good throatiness of his voice.
Yeah, exactly. I've been wanting to do a video parodying him for a while, so I had to throw him into the Reuben one, especially because he's been a guest. Socialism works. Gobble gobble. Gobble gobble. It's awkward. No. Hashtag not. Some more questions, Andy.
Can we get a goo goo gaga, folks, from you?
Goo goo gaga, folks.
Oh my word.
Okay, if you think that I'm just going to say goo goo gaga, folks, for you because you told me to, you're sorely mistaken, Buster Brown, because the fact of the matter is I say what I want to say, and I'm not some talking monkey, and you can't just put quarters in my back and expect me to say whatever you want me to say. So, all right, gang, that's called slavery, folks.
Oh,
Thank you. I mean, I don't know that that's slavery. I believe that human beings can be enslaved by our own inability to embody types which we're striving. If you see government is a tyrannical force, I'm not going to tell you you're bloody wrong.
holy crap.
I mean, unbelievable. It's just ridiculous. What other impressions do I do that people like? I can't even.
I have a question. How come you didn't
What?
make Molyneux's
Did you
eyes
s-
fall off?
Oh, that's a good question.
Stephen
Molyneux's
Molyneux.
eyes have a tendency to fall out. Hello, it's Stefan. I hope you're doing well. We have a few topics we're going to be talking about. The free market, how extraordinary it is. Now, government gets in the way. So on the last Google Hangout that I did, which was private, someone mentioned something ridiculous Stefan Molyneux said, and we were just like laughing about it for a solid 10 minutes. It was a good time. Ooh, hold on. The birth control. Someone said my birth control, and they did it in all caps, so now I have to do the impression. My birth
Everybody
control!
say thank you to Field O'Bears for our daily reminder with that $5 super chat.
First of all, thank you very much, Field of Bears, for the donation and the reminder as well. Words of wisdom with money. That is capitalism, folks. Try to do Steven Crowder's. Crowder. That one's hard, actually. Because I can do a little bit of a Steven Crowder. Yeah, it needs a lot of work. It's like, his voice will get high. He does this kind of Jerry Seinfeld-esque thing where he gets worked out. He's like, what's the deal? Like, but it needs a lot more work. And plus, I like Crowder's work, but I don't watch it often enough to have really adopted enough of his mannerisms to be able to do an impression. Oh, someone wants a straw man impression. There is only one gender. That one. Do Milton Friedman's. Milton Friedman was I'm trying to think. I get him confused with Rothbard, so I might be doing the wrong impression, but he's kind of like, do you know of a system that didn't run based on greed? Is that him or is that Friedman or Rothbard? I'm sorry.
That sounds like
I can do
Bane.
his son.
Bane.
I can do
Yes,
David.
Batman.
God dang it,
Nobody
Bobby.
knows David.
Kill.
Whoa. I tell you what, that boy ain't right.
Thanks, Dad.
Son, you're in the monkey house.
Oh, someone wants social contractor here. I don't know if you guys remember those videos because they're old, but thank you. I'm an analogy for government, Jason.
Good analogy.
Someone wants Hank Hill again. People want more Hank Hill.
God dang it, Bobby. I tell you what, if you don't start donating to Freedomtoons, I'm gonna tell you you can't grow your flowers anymore, dang it. Freedomtoons never used Charcoal.
Okay, I got $5. This one's gonna be a challenge. $5 for Shapiro versus Peterson versus Molyneux on which Power Ranger is the best. Okay. So I think it's fairly obvious that the Red Power Ranger does the best job at embodying the archetype of the hero because he actually went to the bloody underworld and rescued his father. And one thing that's important to remember about the Power Rangers is that they don't function as individuals. They actually literally combine as a unit when they press those buttons on their wrists and then form a massive robot. And it's like, if you think you could just do that without decades of practice and attempting to being mistaken. And the Red Power Ranger is often seen as the best Power Ranger because he's climbed to the top of the dominance hierarchy, and I've argued in the past that's based entirely on competence.
Okay, well, honestly, I understand what you're saying about the Red Power Ranger, but the fact of the matter is the Blue Power Ranger is far superior.
Well, it's like, okay, you can say the Blue Power Ranger is superior, but how do you even begin rationalizing that? I mean, it's not exactly self-evident.
Well, it might not be self-evident to you, Jordan Peterson, because, well, you're an intelligent person and your IQ is something around 150 or 160. My IQ is 275, so I know what's best and what isn't best in any given situation based on observing it for a split second. Okay, well, I'm going to have to interject for a second. You're both disagreeing with each other, but I think we know that the best Power Ranger is the white one.
Okay, folks, so that is Peterson versus Molyneux versus Shapiro on which Power Ranger is best. And
Bravo.
we've got someone else joined. Yeah, we got another person hopping in. How's it going, man? I gotta ask you one thing, Joseph.
Yeah.
We've been.
He wants you to turn your video off because
you're off. Yeah. Yeah, you can leave your mic on, but just turn your video off and just talk to us without the video. We've all had to shut our cameras off because it's just too much bandwidth.
Thank you, kind sir.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay. That's all right. It's all right. Okay. All right. People keep do a tune with Hank Hill. I don't see how that would work in the libertarian.
Just sing about propane.
Here's the thing.
Propane in my urethra.
God. I mean, what else would I want in there? There's not room for much. It is narrow. So if I'm going to be putting anything in there, it'll... Sweet lady propane. I gotta tell you what.
I do Rick and Morty too, if you guys are looking for other characters outside of Freedomtoons.
Let's throw them out there. Let's hear it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Morty. We gotta do the thing. Oh, gee, Rick. I don't know about that, Rick. Morty. Donate to Freedomtoons, Morty. It's libertarian propaganda. It's saving America. Oh, Rick, I don't know about that. I don't have money for Patreon. Oh, I'll get some money for Patreon, Morty, or donate in the super chat. Don't you see what's at stake? Oh gosh. Oh gee. That's Rick and Morty.
That was pretty good.
Really good burping.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
What's that?
Wow.
The IQ.
You're not
totally.
Sounded like his mic went into
Excuse
his
me.
mouth.
Yeah, it sounds like
I
Do a Rick impression.
I got asked to do a Ron Paul impression too. He was kind of like, he was like, I just remember him being like, kind of, I love him.
The free market is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
There's
like
all
shrill and
kinds of
high-pitched.
stuff, and it's great.
He's like, the free market isn't exactly just some miracle cure. We have to give it time. But I mean, the government sure isn't.
You need a little bit of like Parkinson's vibration going on through the voice too.
And you got to pucker your lips while you do it.
America.
You got to mention the Federal Reserve. Approximately too much.
That's
And gold.
very true. Yeah, I mean, but you know what? I gotta say, whenever I get a bit jaded, I go back to Ron Paul's work, and it puts me back in a good libertarian mood. Make Ben Shapiro promote hashtag Goo Goo Gagas.
Okay, so right now we have this great new hashtag called hashtag Goo Goo Gaga, folks. And what it essentially does is it shows the general whole of society how important it is for us to teach our children how to compete and succeed within the free market. Because last Thanksgiving, my aunt expected me to just give her mashed potatoes for free. And honestly, the problem with that is that my child was there and I wanted them to learn, as I mentioned, how to succeed within the free market. So hashtag Goo Goo Gaga, folks. Anytime you teach your child how to compete or succeed within the free market, tweet hashtag Goo Goo Gaga, folks. All right, gang? Is that clear? That's the new hashtag. What are your thoughts on Ben Shapiro putting you in a video in a thumbnail but not talking about you? So that's funny. I was in the that's a good question. He actually played that Freedomtoons video in his podcast, but in the segment that he uploaded to YouTube, he didn't play the segment where he airs my video. But I guess it was just left in the thumbnail. It doesn't bother me that much. Seems more like a technical error than anything else. But the guy's been a really good sport about me poking fun at him, so I can't be upset.
Well, he has like two parts to his podcast. The second half usually doesn't come out until later after it's live, and he usually takes that video down. I think he just forgot to upload the full version, but it's on the podcast that you can download.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the podcast includes the part that requires payment for the video on Daily Wire.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch that part, you have to pay for it.
Oh, do a Donald Trump impression. Okay. Sorry, did I cut you off, by the way, man? I think you were talking, but I saw Donald Trump and got excited.
No.
Okay, folks. So, Freedomtoons is absolutely the greatest Patreon you can donate to. Okay, if you don't, Freedomtoons. Some people are saying Freedomtoons isn't the best. Okay, Freedomtoons is #1. Subscribe on YouTube. Okay.
Oh, I was asked who does the opening Freedomtoons voice for my videos. Good question. My buddy David French does those, and he has a YouTube channel which I will share. It's called IDFC TV. He does like mostly video game stuff and voice acting stuff, but it's pretty solid. It's not very similar to my channel, but y'all might like it. I just posted it. I posted the name of it in the super chat. Any other questions?
So I
unironically voted. Yeah.
So previously you've done a couple of gun videos. I was wondering, did you watch any of the gun YouTube stuff? And
you mean just the YouTube channels which review and discuss guns?
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I haven't in a while, but I was really into them a couple months ago.
Can you do any impressions of them?
Oh man, I wish I couldn't even think of any of them right now, unfortunately. Someone,
FPS Russia.
FPS Russia. He just talks in like a fake Russian accent, right? It's like, today we will look at this gun. It is a good gun. I will shoot something crazy out of it. It's basically videos. Could you do your brilliant intellectual voices? Yes.
Why, yes, of course I can.
Yes, the brilliant intellectuals who debunk YouTube videos.
Is that any more stimulating pursuit?
Do a Steven Crowder impression. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't think that I can do a Crowder impression.
And the idea. Okay, folks.
Jordan Peterson or Sam Harrison? I sort of did Jordan Peterson and Sam Harrison in that video. I'm not really comfortable with my Sam Harris. It needs a lot of work, but I had to get that video out, so I just went with the one I had. But I like my Peterson. Do an impression of Sargon. I keep getting asked to do a Sargon impression. I really can't. I cannot do a Sargon. I haven't even begun to think about how I would do that. I'm sorry. Ben Shapiro. What's that?
Oh, his cadence is very subtle. It's not super distinct.
Exactly.
His voice otherwise.
He's got a pretty posh British accent.
Exactly, but it's very, it's a subtle cadence with just sort of, he's very soft spoken, and so it's a hard impression to do. Ben Shapiro promotes commies ride free. Ben Shapiro supports commies ride free, parachutes rented separately.
Okay, so I've discussed this with my family, including my wife, who's a doctor, and it's her assessment that a human being cannot survive a fall from a helicopter up to a certain height. And I trust her because, as I mentioned, she spent quite a bit of time in medical school, which is why it would be unethical for you to force her to render her services to you for free. But I digress. If commies were to come into my helicopter, it would totally be my right to push them out, especially if they didn't have enough money to rent the parachute. So I'm promoting hashtag commies ride free, parachutes rented separately, helicopter. It's my new hashtag. We want to get as many commies into helicopters as possible. Okay, folks?
Beautiful.
And thank you for the $5, Fieldo Bears. Alex,
Ori Miraz in the chat has a question for you, Seamus. He asks, are you pro-Israel or pro-Palestine?
Oh, that's a good question. So my feelings on this are pretty complicated. Obviously, it was a really horrible idea to place Israel where it is now, because they have nothing but enemies in that region. But that being said, I don't know that just completely destroying that state or allowing the Palestinians to destroy it is the right answer. And I'm also not as well read on the issue as I'd like to be. So I can't give a very well thought out answer on this, unfortunately. But I don't know. As I mentioned, I mean, I agree that it's definitely not in an ideal location. But then again, I mean, we also know that so many Jews were eliminated in the 20th century that there is a reasonable fear that they could essentially be wiped off the face of the planet. So I also understand why people are wary of siding with those who would want to destroy the only Jewish nation on earth. So, I mean, it's complicated. I do see both sides here.
Cool. There you go, Ori.
Yeah. So Prince Christian said, I really appreciate the work you guys do. Big fan. Thank you so much. Really, I appreciate that. And I should also say, while I do most of the writing for these videos, there are some people who help me with the animation from time to time, and with increasing frequency, just because of how often I've been uploading. And I want to mention that I could not be doing this without them. Speaking of which, I'm going to be inviting one person who helps me with a good deal of animation into the live stream, in case y'all have any questions for him.
Do Paul Joseph Watson.
Imagine my shock when the mainstream media says that Bill Clinton is the greatest president who ever lived. So much for the tolerant left. Yeah, he's too easy. It's
why is he even a thing?
I don't know, dude. But like the thing is, for as absurd as he can be, I find myself agreeing with some of what he says. I haven't seen too many of his videos lately, but I saw one not long ago. I was like, wow, it's pretty solid.
The one he did about art was just bad.
I didn't see that one. He's like, imagine my shock when the mainstream media thinks that art should be legal.
There's another another question here in the chat for you, Seamus. I don't know if it's really this specific, but do you have any plans of going on to any shows? This person's asking, Ben Shapiro, Ladder Crowder, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have any plans to go on a live interview show?
I would love to do that. I would absolutely love to do that. I haven't set anything up. I don't even know where I would begin reaching out to some of these people because they're still just so far beyond me in terms of subscribers and just generally way out of my league. But I would love to speak with any of them if I got the chance. And by the way, Casey Jones just donated $20 and said, "You are the shit. Heart, keep doing what you're doing." You know what, Casey? You are the shit. Thank you for the donation. Really, I very much appreciated that. Get on Crowder. I would love to. $5 from Jim Samples. Say I'm going to. Oh man, Jim, I can't. I'm trying not to be too vulgar because unfortunately, like I shouldn't say unfortunately, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of the people I work with are like educational organizations and some Christian organizations. So if I say anything too obscene, I could lose a solid chunk of like my income. So I apologize. I can't get that vulgar. They asked me to. I know it doesn't seem that bad probably from the perspective of the average YouTube viewer, but it's something I could see landing me in hot water. So I apologize, Jim. But I could say if you Jim, I'll keep it out for you. If you post anything else that's like a little more appropriate, I'll be happy to say it because you did donate $5 and that's generous, and I appreciate you, babe.
Yeah, I've been biting my tongue.
Reach out to Owen Benjamin. His fans will relentlessly badger the bigger names. Okay, yeah, I'll reach out to Owen Benjamin. Good call, and thank you for the $5, Fieldo Bears. Do Alex Jones discussing soy-based vaccines? Man, Alex Jones like, I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Like that's do an impression.
He's like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he totally is.
Really,
oh my gosh, he's that's very true.
Listen here, brother.
These wonderful supplements you got to get right now. It'll turn you from a soy boy. Oh, this contains soy.
Why didn't anybody tell me there had soy in this thing?
They're globalists.
Illuminati.
These globalists are after us. Yeah, I don't know. So
They're
Alex
harvesting
Jones.
fish people.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the soy that turn the friggin' humans into soy boys. Owen Benjamin plus Freedomtoons equals gold. Thank you. I would love to work with Owen Benjamin. Again, yeah, there's people will ask me like, oh, would you ever collaborate with Steven Crowder or Owen Benjamin or any of these folks? And it's like, I mean, if presented the opportunity, yeah, but I don't know how I could get a hold of them.
No, just reach out to Owen. I DM'd him on Twitter, and that's how I got to making animations for him.
Oh wow! So you
It's that simple.
you've made animations for him?
Yeah, I've made 2 for him.
Oh what? Yeah. If you're still in touch with him, just give him my info. I'd love to work with him.
Sure thing, man. I'll pass it over.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem.
I don't like. Do you think Muslims are a true threat to the West? Why are they allowed? Their religion is absolutely black. So this is an interesting question. I do think Islam as a religion is incorrect. I do believe that Muslims, generally speaking, insofar as they take their faith seriously, espouse views which are problematic to say the least. And I believe the solution to that problem is to openly critique their values without squirming away from any conversation lest we be labeled Islamophobes.
Confirmed.
Would you
Islamophobe?
Islamophobe.
Islamophobe.
Freedomtoons. Would you ever go on Dave Rubin? I know you made fun of him in your last video. Of course I would go on Dave Rubin if he would have me. I doubt he would because I roasted him, but maybe I would if he offered. I wouldn't turn him down.
Well, you roasted him and he still agreed.
Yeah, dude. Rubin's the man. I know he's the man. Cameron Langworthy asked, "Can we expect to see more debunker videos in the future?" Yes, I'm going to be making more of those. I was also asked about FeeCon. Will I be at FeeCon? A number of people have been asking me this. The reason they've been asking, for those of you who don't know, is because I work with the Foundation for Economic Education to Common Sense. So, box with Seamus Coughlin. It's an educational animated series. And I would love to be at
I think they're Netflixing
FeeCon. Yes, I would be. Taylor.
You sound like the Master Control program again.
I think it's just a really bad impersonation of Crowder's new employee. Beep boop bop beep.
The intern.
Yeah. What were they thinking?
Ben Computer.
Man.
They're like, he's gone. We can go back to watching Preacher again.
Cricket.
Okay, is it kind of working now?
Yeah, you sound clear again.
Okay. Part of me has thought maybe I could connect to my mobile hotspot. Phone would be better. Someone just said something, but it didn't really come.
Time.
Hey, So I think that was Rave Dubin, yes, or
What else?
yeah. Whoever just said that, you're really close to the mic. I cannot make out what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Don't connect to the mobile hotspot. That'll just make it worse.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Probably.
Someone said to unplug the mic and plug it back in. You guys think that's worth a shot?
Basic troubleshooting
That sounded a
technique.
lot like Bill Burr.
Bill Burr is.
Try turning it
I
off.
can do
and
Bill
on again.
Burr. Yeah, he's like. So I dated this girl. She was into like women's issues, and she was like, "Tell me this: why does a man get paid less than a woman?" I was like, "I'll tell you why. Because for some messed up reason, if we're ever on the Titanic and it starts to sink, you get to leave with the kids, and I gotta stand there and play the fiddle."
Holy crap, man! That's spot on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That might actually be the best one. At least the most accurate.
I was Bill Burr in a past life. So someone just asked again, is that a yes or no to FeeCon? It's an I don't know. If Fee invites me, yes, I'll go. But they haven't invited me yet, so I don't know.
Another question for you, Seamus, from number -0. Have you heard of Jeremy Corbyn? And if so, what are your thoughts on him?
I have heard of Jeremy Corbyn. I'm not too familiar with him or his work. I recognize the name. He's British, correct? British politician.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him other than that.
All I know is he's a filthy socialist.
Oh,
Now,
well,
whoa!
and I don't
Now
like.
Seamus sounds like Julie Browski trying to do a man voice.
That's how I always sound. That's just my voice, Jim.
You are who she parodies.
Yes, I am. Whenever Julie Borowski makes fun of soy boys, she's making fun of me. She'll hit me up on Facebook and talk to me like she's being my friend, and then I see the next day that the things I said to her in confidence are being said by her in her video when she's doing an impression of a soy boy, and I usually just cry. By the way, totally kidding. Julie Borowski's never done that. And I know that should seem obvious, but some people might actually be upset with her. Say, why did you betray freedom to trust Julie? This is why we can't trust the ladies.
Can you do the PSA voice?
Can I do the what?
The one with the guns video and the abortion one.
Yes. Guns, the loud killer. Why you should ban guns and why everyone who doesn't want Second Amendment restrictions is a child-killing right-wing bigot. That was, I plan on doing more videos like that. I haven't had time recently because they require a bit of research, but I'm done with school in a couple weeks for good. And I'm going to be able to spend more time actually reading about this stuff. So my content is going to continue to produce the satirical content, but I'm going to get back into more of the educational content I used to produce. So I'm excited for that.
Another question for you, Seamus, from Tyler Gossett. What duties do you think the government should have?
Yeah,
he says,
so,
I only ever hear you saying what they shouldn't do. Ooh, hard hitting.
He got me. No, it's true. I mostly spend my time mentioning what they shouldn't do because they shouldn't do anything. Now, I would say that for as long as we have a government protecting life, liberty, and property, I would, there's a whole like minarchist, anarchist debate within the libertarian community. And one thing I've said a number of times in the past that I think what we should work on is shrinking the government to the smallest size possible. And then when it's actually realistic for us to have the debate, as to whether or not we get rid of the rest of the government and live in anarchy, and of course, it would be, in theory, an anarchist system, which is maintained in which the social order is maintained using market infrastructure.
I agree with you.
I agree with it. So the point,
There you go, Tyler Gossett. There's your answer.
Now I've lost my train of thought. No, my point is, before we have the discussion on whether or not we should have an anarchist society or a minarchist society, we have to get to the minarchist society first. We have to shrink the government down to a size small enough that possible to even entertain that conversation. And It's not to say that I'm against the idea altogether. I just think the best goal is to shrink the government to the point where it understands its responsibility and duty is to protect life, liberty, and property, and nothing beyond that. So you're saying you hate roads? Yes.
Miratunes Productions asks you, what are your thoughts on centrists? I'm not going to stop asking till I get an answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just don't see some of these. Centrists? Well, I suppose it depends on how you define it, because what a centrist is can change daily, given that the political spectrum changes daily. As the left goes further and further and further to the left, and as small isolated factions of the right go further and further to the right, the whole equilibrium kind of shifts. And so it's hard to say what a centrist is or what they actually believe. But if you're simply attempting to stay in the middle for the purposes of staying in the middle, because that's where you think the truth always is, I would argue you abilities. That being said, if you happen to be in the middle because you've examined all of your perspectives critically, and you just happen to believe that the right is correct on some things, the left is correct on some things, libertarians and authoritarians are correct on some things, and you sort of split the difference, then I think that's fine, though I still disagree with you. Hopefully that's a sufficient answer.
Very cool. Very cool. There, I can't remember that question, but it's answered.
Emma, did I read? Yeah. And Daravan said, I have a friend who loves your channel and would like to lend his voice talents to your videos. Is there any room for that? Who would he contact? So this is a good question, and I get asked this pretty frequently. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your donation. But I suppose the answer to that is I like to bring voice actors on when possible, but the issue is no matter how much someone says they want to the shove and I actually need to get a video done.
You have another question here, Bod. What are your questions on Georgism?
Really, most negative experiences with delivering audio technology. Did I cut out? Did I cut out again?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
There was no sound for a while.
Oh my gosh. So here I am saying I don't need voice actors when you can't hear a word I'm saying. I'm happy to bring people in to help as voice actors on occasion, but the problem is in the past, voice actors. The problem is in the past, no matter how badly. Someone just interrupted me. I'm not sure. Am I coming through here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
So in the past, no matter how badly certain people say they want a voice act, unfortunately, it's extremely difficult to get people to deliver their audio to me in a timely fashion, and I end up having to hunt them down. So while I like bringing new people on the team to do voice acting, it tends to introduce a huge set of variable process, which I just can't afford right now. There's also another reason. I have a little bit of a story, actually. If y'all are interested in story time, I'm reluctant to bring new voice actors on. You guys want to hear a story?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So I'm not going to name. A while ago, there was another YouTuber running on my videos. And this is when I had just started out. And so, I would reply back and tell him thanks for watching, and I added him on Facebook. And I never actually watched his videos, but he was kind of an internet friend, more of an acquaintance. Never really spoke to him, and he would always ask to do voices for him. Okay, and I was like, yeah, maybe I should include him, but I never got around to it. That ended up being a good thing, because what happened was this individual started commenting on some annoying social justice warriors public page. And again, granted, it was an annoying social. And so this annoying social descended on this person, started leaving comments on his profile. And of course, I stuck up for him. So I shared a screenshot of what was happening. And I tagged this social justice warrior in it. And I shared this from the Freedomtoons page. And then I find out after I share this, supporting this dude, having his back, he ends up just throwing racial slurs at these people, suggesting he's going to hang her because she's black. Horrible, horrible stuff. And so I've just stuck up for this guy, and he's saying these terrible things. And of course, I retract my comments and say, okay, screw this guy. I had his back and he made me look like a jerk. And the reason I mention this story is because had he done voices for me, that the videos that he helped with would forever be associated with the horrible things he said. And I'll also mention that there was an article published in the Huffington Post about him and about like the horrible things he was saying. And like that could have been associated with my videos forever. So that's why I try not to have fortunately, I don't know them very well. And if they do and then they get in some kind of trouble like that, that's forever associated with my work. So it's a crazy story though, right?
Absolutely.
No, I'm not kidding. I logged into Huffington, like I was on Huffington Post exploring because
White boys get their news.
and I saw an article with his profile picture in it. It's like this guy like threatened me with rape and harassed me. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm very glad I never allowed him to do a voice for me.
Yeah, you dodged that one.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Yeah, hey, yo, Seamus, it's Eric Rende, your friend from Pleasantville. Congrats on 100. All right, so my buddy Eric, this is a guy who I've known for a very, very long time. I grew up with him, and he just commented to congratulate me on 100,000 subscribers. Eric, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Excuse me. Lobsters have the highest IQ out of any YouTube debater. That's true. That's true. So you're saying lobsters have taken you hostage? Yes. Do you like lobster or crab? I actually prefer to eat crab. I cannot believe nobody here came. Oh my gosh. Some of these comments are so dirty. I start to read them and I'm like, I can't.
You just gave them fodder by talking about crabs.
I know, you're right. That was.
I began to ask a question for Vod when your mic cut out.
Okay.
He wanted to know what your thoughts on Georgism were.
What is define George? I'm unfamiliar with the concept.
If Vodka, you can put that in the chat there. You can have a read.
I'm unfamiliar.
I don't know what it is either.
Okay.
Tree of War Productions asks for a shout out.
You get a shout out, Tree of War Productions.
Now watch, he's gonna go around saying racist stuff on people's videos.
No! Dude, that would be a bad day for Freedomtoons. A bad day for Freedomtoons fans everywhere. Someone asked, Seamus, are you a jerk? Except they didn't say jerk. To liberals in your college classes. I try to be nice to people, but of course, I guess they would consider being a jerk just disagreeing with them, and I do that quite a bit, so I suppose. Do you like fake crabs or real crabs? Is there some kind of innuendo there that I'm not understanding because I'm too innocent? Yeah. Dawkins voice. Rock lobster. So I'm trying to think of a Dawkins voice. I don't think I could do one. Wait, you see? No, I can't do a Dawkins here, but I know someone who could very well. Someone who Jim and I know. But I'm not going to.
There's a question here that actually I'm pretty curious about from Riley Thorne. When did you learn to animate? That's
a good question. So I started teaching myself when I was about 12 or 13 years old. And I first started attempting to freelance when I was about 14. And I started the small business in animation production when I was 18. Started doing this full time. So, started teaching myself pretty young. And luckily for me, that kind of gave me a leg up.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Matthew Ress asks, what power source do you think is the future Freedomtoons?
Oil.
All right. We don't need those.
No, I genuinely have no clue. I'm sorry. I wish I had a more interesting answer, but I just do not know. Prince Christian asks. Oh yeah, Prince Christian just asked. Forgot to congratulate you on all of your success. Congrats, brother. Thoughts on the Ronald Reagan and his presidency, please. Oh well, first of all, thank you for the $5 donation. Thank you for the congratulations. Ronald Reagan and his same thoughts I have on Trump and his presidency. Far from perfect, but in every way in which he is lessened government over our lives, I like him. And everywhere he expanded state authority, I don't like him. One sad thing that happened under the Trump administration, I believe in 1982, was the Illinois Continental bailout, I believe. And it's really unfortunate because that was sort of the moment when it just became normal for Republicans to support bailouts, and Reagan supported that as well. So I think that did a lot of harm. But that's not to say he's president. Just given what I know about him, I can't say he's perfect, but I also is terrible as the. You pray to a higher power. Yes, I am Catholic, so I do believe in a higher power. I believe in God. When will you get to 250,000 subs? That's a good question. Let me check Social Blade, because they usually make solid predictions.
We got a question here. What do you think of Donald Trump's State of the Union address?
Is it bad that I didn't watch it? I've just been
No,
so
it's good.
busy. I mean, it's sad. No,
No, lag issues
I've been
again.
too busy to.
Oh, not again.
We'll need you to reiterate that
Productions.
answer.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry, man. Yes.
All right, can you guys hear me? What was the question?
Kind of.
About the State of the Union. Oh no.
I didn't get it. Just I have been busy. I couldn't check the State of the Union out.
Good for you.
Yeah, exactly. If you were forced to leave the U.S., where would you go? Ireland. Do you support government-funded schools? Well, I do through my taxes, but it's not voluntary. Seamus is always washing windows. They start transforming into lobsters. Donald Trump. Quite a bit of shit posting here. Does anyone just want to hold on? Do you believe Ben Shapiro is the true God of Catholicism? I don't. Very hotly debated question, but I do not. Do you drink whiskey or wine? I've been trying to avoid whiskey lately. But I do enjoy whiskey when I have it. I can't encourage irresponsible drinking, friends. But when I do have whiskey, or do.
Yeah, whiskey
Can you all
will
hear
get
me?
you in trouble. No.
Scotch or bourbon.
Okay, I cannot hear anyone in this stream, so I'm assuming that
We can hear you now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can hear you.
Seems like an advertisement for Verizon.
Okay, hey, hold on.
Can you hear me now?
I was not able to hear any of you for like a solid minute.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, just want to let you know. So I have no idea what just happened. And also, I was asked, you said you're Catholic and you're sponsored by some churches. Do you practice? Well, first of all, I'm not sponsored by any churches, but I am sponsored by some religious groups for some of the work that I do. And yes, I do practice Catholicism.
Vodka has the follow-up to his question about Georgism. He says, Georgism, limited government funded by a single land tax, also tax on environmental destruction. This to encourage environmentalism and efficiency of land usage, encouraging ownership.
I mean, it's preferable to the system that we have now, but I don't think that it's an ideal system by any means. I would try to reduce taxation to zero if possible. I mean, I can understand the argument for a sales tax possibly, but I see a property tax as just really intrusive to human liberty. The idea that you have to pay for something you already own. That being said, is Georgism better, at least in theory, than what we have now? Absolutely, yeah. Because
Joseph, your mic is making some noise there.
I don't know how to use this feature in the last super chat. What is your honest opinion on Stefan Molyneux and Freedomain Radio? That's a good question. So Stefan Molyneux is someone who I haven't followed too closely as of late, but I'm certainly not as big a fan of his work as I used to be. That's not just because I haven't been following him, but it's because as I have been stopping by his channel and tuning into his videos, he's been saying some things which I don't necessarily agree with. I think he used to be a lot more libertarian than he is now. and I don't really want to involve myself in YouTube drama. My fear is if I criticize him on anything, it's gonna turn into a bit of a shit show. But this used to love the guy's work. I can't say I dislike him because I don't follow him too closely, but you know, not a huge fan, not anymore. No. Jim has some thoughts on Stefan Molyneux.
Yes, I do.
You, if I'm not mistaken, are not a fan of Stefan.
Very much.
Yeah. Would you ever sit in on a PragerU video if they gave you the offer? Yeah, absolutely. See, I'm sorry, I'm less articulate here than usual. There's so many questions distracting me. So I'm just going to close the super. You guys pick out any questions which you think are interesting, or you see any questions from people donating. Would you just mind reading those back to me? Because it's getting difficult to focus on everything.
So with whiskey, bourbon or scotch?
Oh, I don't know. You know, that's a tough question. I'm not experienced enough a drinker yet, and I know that sounds unlikely coming from an Irishman, but for the most part, regular.
So he's going to say Jameson.
Yeah,
'cause
no,
he's
actually,
Catholic.
no, sir, no, because Jameson is Northern Ireland. I like Tullamore Dew because that is from Southern Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
it was a Catholic
No,
Protestant thing. Bushman or Jameson. If you pick the
Yeah,
wrong
no,
one,
Jameson's from the Republic. It's Bushmills is from Northern Ireland.
Oh, really? Okay, well then I was wrong. But Tullamore is still better than Jameson. And that is a fact. There's science to support that.
Green Spot is an excellent Irish whiskey. I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I'll have
From
to
the
check that out.
Republic as well.
I like Scotch.
Oh,
I'll stick
wow.
with my Highland Park.
All right. You know what? When alcohol, you bunch of degenerates. You bunch of sick degens.
Good old granddad. Love old granddad.
What are some other questions that are catching your eyes?
There's some people asking your thoughts on Milo.
Ooh, someone, SpongeBob SquarePants said, "You're not Irish, you're American." Actually, sir, I'm Irish American. Name me a single African American who's born in Africa, and I will stop calling myself Irish American. What do we got? How did Seamus originally become a libertarian? That is a question I get a lot. So, as I mentioned, Ron Paul introduced me to the libertarian philosophy. I remember back in 2012, I was in high school, and it was my senior year election, and I knew I didn't want him for another term because I was more conservative, but I also recognized a lot of the intellectual consistency within the conservative movement, and particularly within the Republican Party. And once I started learning about Ron Paul, it seemed as though he had an answer to every question, which satisfied me, at least on some level. I wanted to research his belief system, and I did. And that's how I became a libertarian. And I got to say, for as much as I'm not a huge fan of Stefan Molyneux anymore, old Stefan Molyneux and a lot of the arguments he used to make in favor of libertarianism definitely really enlightened me on the topic.
Okay, Andrew Usher has a question here. How do you feel about the role of government in regulating monopolies?
So, government regulating monopolies. I think that, at least in theory, when you actually have a truly free and open market, what generally happens is massive cartels and monopolies eventually fall. And it actually happens more quickly than a lot of people like to believe, because smaller businesses and startups are more agile and able to conform to market demand more quickly, whereas large businesses are not. So I don't know that the state regulation against monopolies is quite as necessary as people think it is.
There's your answer.
Yes.
Robert Clement asks, what is your opinion on the principles of Catholic social doctrine, those being human dignity, common good, subsidiarity, and solidarity?
I agree with that.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you. obviously, stream everyone in the Google Hangout. Feel free to throw any of your own questions my way.
Yeah. I just keep seeing some really thoughtful questions here in the chat. Some really thoughtful questions and interesting questions as well. I'm trying to sift through all the sarcastic ones. Thoughts on Milton Friedman, Seamus?
So, generally like him. He's extremely articulate, intelligent, knows what he's talking about, and he usually makes a pretty seemingly unbiased argument. I understand he comes from the Austrian school of economics, so there is a bit of a bias there, but I think it's about as objective as you can get when it comes to that kind of material.
There you have your answer, my friend. And
sorry, I spaced out. Who was he talking about?
Milton Friedman, Chicago.
Oh, is he Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my mistake. Because those schools, I mean, they're pretty similar schools, but of course, Austrian is more purely.
Okay, someone has a comment followed by your thoughts. They say, Seamus, Ron Paul has the most outrageous foreign policy positions. You don't have to be neocon to see this. You seem too reasonable for that. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that, but you're probably wrong if you think I'm too reasonable to say or do or believe anything, because the fact of the matter is I'm just not.
Is he saying he's too much of a peacenik?
But on Ron Paul's, what's that?
I was going to say, is it because Ron
well,
Paul's too
I
much of
do-
a peacenik, or because he advocated for intervention in Afghanistan? That could go both
I think I
ways.
advocate for intervention in Afghanistan.
Yeah, but I think
So
it was
I
just a
guess-
political
I guess the
move just to keep him out of hot water. I think that's what it really was.
Here's the short answer to that question. I definitely understand the perspective. It's just not pragmatic to remove, U.S. presence from every, war zone or country that we're involved in right now, and just watch where the pieces land. But that being said, I think at least in theory world, I would love to see the kind of foreign policy that Ron Paul promotes come to fruition. Not
Very nice.
saying he's perfect or all of his ideas are perfect, but I think that basically sums it up.
Very nice.
Seamus, what are your thoughts on the accusations that you have the same speech patterns as Jeff Goldblum? That's a good question. I'm accused of this frequently. I think that's really just me being in a slump right now, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm pumped to do this stream. I'm pumped about the subscribers, but I'm a little overwhelmed right now. Didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night and didn't get a big breakfast. I'm usually a bit quick. Brick off. Your soy boy video is good.
Fly, that's why.
What's that?
I said
Also-
you're part fly.
Also, I am part fly. And also, I should mention that this can be attributed to the fact that my internet isn't that great right now. Brick off. Your soy boy video is gold. I hope you do more like that. Maybe you and Seamus could collaborate on a few. Yeah, that'd be great. And CV Taxi, thank you once again for the $5 donation. I noticed you've donated quite a bit. I appreciate you, babe. How much do you bench, bro? All of it is the answer.
Here's a less serious question. Have you ever played a game from the Fallout series? And perhaps more generally, do you game?
Good question. I play some video games, but not very often. I get into this habit where I find a video game that I like and I just play it to death. So I remember for Xbox 360, I would play Call of Duty Zombies mode exclusively. For N64, which is the only system I have right now, I'll just play like GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie and Mario Kart endlessly. Sometimes I'll play some
-1 for not
Genesis
mentioning
games.
Conquer.
I actually don't have Conquer. I know.
Blasphemy.
I'm sorry.
Blasphemy.
I apologize, Jim. But
But you never said
I'm not
anything
sure
about
if that
Fallout.
qualifies. I don't know if that qualifies me as a gamer. I like to play video games, but I'm not really serious about it.
All right.
You
Here's a
didn't
good
say anything
question.
about Fallout, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Particularly Fallout. What are your...
Well, I have not really played Fallout, no.
Okay. Back to a serious question. Daniel Gunner asks, do you believe the Somali government comes to its current position through corrupt government people or citizen error of positions? Not
So-
sure I quite understand the wording, but
My understanding is that Somalia was actually very inefficiently run in terms of its state structure prior to the collapse. I'm not extremely, well educated on the topic. I haven't looked into it too deeply, but if I'm not mistaken, and I believe Jim, you know a bit about this, correct? Because I think we've had a
A little
conversation
bit,
on
yeah.
it. Yeah. The Somalian government took on more than it was capable
It was a
of.
communist.
And
It was a communist regime, and it fell. And after it fell, there was like multiple factions fighting for power, and the war just kind of, or the country just kind of fell into a civil war. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, like a lot of different statistics started like going in a better direction for the people living there. Like education was better, or no, education was worse, but like medical was better. Infant mortality went down. Wealth went up, and a lot of immigrants, or a lot of people who were fleeing from the country during the collapse into like Ethiopia, came back when it started getting better without a state.
yeah,
But they have a
And
state now, so you can't
I
really
think
call it an anarchy.
the bottom line is people oftentimes refer to Somalia as a kind of checkmate against libertarians, but the fact of the matter is, for as undesirable a place it is to live, it's better off now that it's no longer under communism.
Yep, very good.
Yeah.
Here's a good question mixed with another one. It is, will you answer the next question in Ben Shapiro voice, which I assume you will because you're such a good man. And
I
the
appreciate
actual
that.
question is, what do you see for the future involving mankind in space?
All right, so honestly, if you don't understand that mankind is going to colonize the stars, you're absolutely insane. So the fact of the matter is you have different statuses of civilizations. And if you have a civilization in which you're able to harness the power of the sun and other natural elements outside of your planet, then essentially the sky is the limit. And in fact, I should really say that the sky is less than the limit because you're able to go far beyond that. So I would say that humanity is likely poised to colonize the entire galaxy for Israel specifically. And all of you humans who are not Israeli can stay on Earth, and the rest of us are going to go party on other planets. All right.
Are you familiar with the Fermi paradox?
Yes, I am familiar with the Fermi paradox. There's
Why-
actually a topic I really like.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead.
No, so this is interesting, and obviously, extraterrestrials are not exactly a topic that come up pretty frequently for me, since most of what I do is political, and that's generally not considered to be in the same category as the types of ideas I generally discuss. But here are my thoughts. It's possible that there's extraterrestrial life out there. The problem is, oftentimes the argument I hear is the universe is so massive, it's just statistically very unlikely that life has only developed on one planet. But the fact of the matter is, to actually know that, you would have to know the statistical likelihood of life developing on another planet. So what I mean by that is, if there are 20 trillion planets in the universe which can support life, but the odds of life developing spontaneously on a planet are 1 in 20 trillion, then it would make sense that only one planet had life. So to simply say there are all sorts of planets which can support life, therefore there has to be aliens, or there have life out there, I think is not really thinking it through entirely.
And one of the other. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That being said, I think it's possible there are aliens. I just don't like that argument.
Well, you have for a million years more advanced than us. They would already have control over several.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that.
Right. I mean, it's kind of weird to think about it. We should see it by now, right?
What was that? You're coming in kind of
essentially
soft.
it's hard to hear you, but essentially what he's saying is the sheer time span that the universe has existed for, there could be an alien race that is several 100 million years ahead of us in technology.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or even that, if we're so far apart, they could have died out as well. That's the other.
Yeah, no, and I've heard that theory as well, that there are all sorts of civilizations which have developed and then collapsed. Some people argue that an explanation for the Fermi paradox is that each different intelligent race can only evolve to such a point before it destroys itself. And these are all frightening prospects, but who knows? It could all be possible. And again, I'm not saying I don't think there's life out there. I have no clue. I genuinely am entirely agnostic on it. One question. All right, we got a $10 donation. And it was to clarify Ron Paul, his general foreign policy view that the USA is the reason for terrorism, that terrorism wouldn't exist without the US. Okay, yeah. I mean, if that's an accurate summary of his position, then I absolutely disagree.
That's about right.
Yeah.
It's a bit much.
Yeah, I would disagree with that entirely. Yeah, thank you for clearing that up. I believe that we should take a more non-interventionist approach when it comes to warfare. But that being said, I don't believe that
all Islamic terrorism as a result of blowback. Obviously, it has a whole lot to do with the doctrines of the belief system. You can't just place that all in the U.S. That seems a little ridiculous.
A lot of it
Very
is,
cool.
though. To what extent,
Well, I don't
know.
disagree that a certain percentage of terrorism is blowback, but there are
just don't
so
know how
many
much, yeah.
acts of what's that? I mean, are there statistics on this? Because I'm not even sure how you would record.
That's what I'm
Was
saying.
the
I don't
Battle
know.
of Vienna blowback?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's blowback, but there's also people who just genuinely believe that the West needs to be destroyed, regardless of their foreign actions. What degree
Exactly.
everything would be eliminated through that, I don't know, but
Exactly.
you save a bunch of
Yeah,
money
and-
not
and-
going overseas, and reducing terrorism seems like a good investment.
We have a question here that is, I believe it's giving you a little bit of a challenge to your earlier statement about how, eventually, anarchy, I don't want to take you incorrectly here, but you said something to the effect of anarchy is kind of, or anarchism, some state of that is your ideal goal. Is that
sort
correct?
of? No, not exactly. So I suppose in theory, yes, but on the other hand, my whole argument is that it's not even really worth having a discussion over whether or not we should have an anarchist society or an anarchist society until the government that discussion to be warranted, because the fact of the matter is all we ended up doing is creating more infighting, or all we end up doing is creating more infighting.
Correct.
We alienate people who could be allies. That's my whole point on
I
that.
just wanted to clarify that, because the question posed to you is the statement, anarchy is just like communism in that they are both utopian ideals. Do you agree or not?
It depends, because there are so many different things that anarchy can mean. I would say for the most part, that's probably fair, but you have anarcho-communism and anarcho-syndicalism, anarcho-capitalism. Again, I'm more inclined to believe that anarcho-capitalism is a more realistic solution than anarcho-communism, but is it something that I think we could jump to today? No. So in that sense, I do agree that it's totally idealistic. Yeah.
Sure. And that question came from Thiago P.
All right. Well, and thank you for the question. I'll also add this. I don't think that anarchy would result in as many deaths as a totalitarian state system would or has. I mean, you look at what communism alone has inflicted upon humanity, and it's just difficult for me to imagine a totally disorganized anarchist society, which is the worst possible scenario ever, inflicting that much harm. And that's not to say it's something we want, but my point is that for as bad as it could be, I don't think it could ever be as bad as communism. So hopefully that clears it up.
Communism has never been tried.
There you go, Thiago. Or Tiago, sorry.
It's never been tried.
Kyle Hansen asks, what are your thoughts on the current role and purpose of the U.S. Coast Guard, and what it should be if it should be?
The U.S. Coast Guard, yeah, not too familiar on that. If I understand, a lot of what they do is sort of border control. They prevent drug smuggling, and now and then they'll rescue people who are in danger. They're sort of like the police of the water. If I had some statistics on how much we're spending on them and how much good we're doing, I would be able to give a better answer to this. I don't have much on this.
Okay, there you go, Kyle. Triavor asks, Seamus, what are your thoughts on Isaac Arthur?
Not familiar.
There you go, Triavor. Sorry about that. That was a quick answer. Sean D102 asks, Family Guy, The Simpsons, or South Park? And before you answer, can you answer this question in a Jordan Peterson voice? Oh wait, he's got another question.
It's like a real.
Hold on, pick a voice for that, and then I'll ask the question about Jordan Peterson. So sorry.
Well, I'm just going to get shorter. Like, okay, so what people don't realize about real satirical animated comedy, and you can point at Family Guy, and it's like, okay, I get that, but it's not evident that a show like Family Guy could exist, having been there in the first place of the environment created by the very bold in the initial incarnation of The Simpsons. I've probably done much more of value for the entertainment sphere than Family Guy has done. So it's a superior show to Family Guy, and there's a lot less seasonal rot with South Park. I mean, it's bloody well even better, the complete opposite. So Family Guy's totally out of the running here. Well, it can be entertaining at times. It doesn't even. So South Park wouldn't The Simpsons likely. So I hope that answers your question thoroughly enough. But at the end of the day, you would really appreciate The Simpsons if you're and you understood how to embody the archetypal mythos of the hero. Every statement has to end with archetypal mythos of the hero, by the way, if you guys haven't noticed the pattern. Every Jordan Peterson statement ends with that.
Dr. Peterson, there's another question for you here. With the possibility of life existing on other planets, do you believe an outside threat like aliens could be what brings humanity together, bucko?
It's not exactly self-evident that an external threat could bring all of humanity together. It's like, for example, there have been a number of different natural disasters and plagues and famines which have devastated humanity and killed countless millions of people, but it hasn't brought them together. So the idea that you would actually be strengthened in terms of its relations to one another by adversity is not something you can actually take for granted. I mean, we'd be strengthened in some ways, but I don't know that I would say a real threat is what's going to bring us all together. Now, the only way we can prepare for something like this, whether or not we're united to other countries in a bond, is to remember that each one of us has a responsibility to clean our room and embody the archetypal mythos of the hero. And that is my answer to that question.
Very good, very good. What news sources do you like the most? That's from username. Very distinct.
News sources?
A good name.
So
yes, what news sources do you like the most?
You know, just like whatever's on like my news feed, you know, I usually believe. I really like Jezebel a lot. I don't know. I try to get both sides. I mean, I know it's cliche, but every article I read on Fox, I try to read a counter article on CNN sort of discussing the same events so I can get a more clear picture. And then I'll just any resource I can for fact checking on those.
And CNN is the worst now. They don't even pretend like they're balanced anymore.
There's a challenge from the chat here. Speak in Ben Shapiro's mannerisms, but Jordan Peterson's voice, and we're going to attach that to a question. Do you believe in evolution or creation? Ooh.
Okay, honestly, if you're going to ask me whether or not I believe in evolution or creationism, it's a complete waste of my time. I mean, the fact of the matter is evolution honestly occurred, but the idea that it could be entirely removed from a creator, to me, is totally obscene, totally self-evident. That, like, totally remove a creator from the evolutionary process and have human beings exist as complex and fascinating as we are in the way that we've developed over time. And if you're not going to embody the archetypal mythos of the hero by cleaning your bloody room, you're wasting my time. Okay, folks?
That is so brilliant, man. Thank you. Pulled that. You pulled that off so well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It was almost like that was planned.
No.
Robert Clement has been asking this question a lot, so I think I should get to it. What is the best book you have read on politics and economics, Seamus?
Here's the thing. I'm an animator, so I don't read.
Fair enough.
No, I would say so. No, I'm kidding. That's difficult
Not
because
a cartoon, he doesn't know it.
Obviously economics are connected, but in terms of the books I've read, there's two different categories because there's some philosophy I've read which can be considered political, and it's hard to, you know, measure that up against the more straight economic texts I've read. I think that Intellectuals by Paul Johnson, it's more of you know, like philosophy and history text, but it is political in its own way. And part of why I mentioned it is because it really helps you see that many of the people who claim to love humanity as a whole, people they deal with in their daily lives horribly. And that really helped shape me in the sense that it informed me of the reality that people who claim to want to save humanity tend more or less to simply want to rule it.
Yeah, all right.
So let's say Intellectuals by Paul Johnson. Read that one. I'm also reading a book now called The Creature from Jekyll Island. I haven't had that much of a chance to read it since I've purchased it, but the last couple days I've been flipping through it, and it really is a solid expose on the Federal Reserve System.
All right. What's the book called?
Creature from Jekyll Island, or The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Very cool. Okay. Tyler Gossett has a question for you. In an anarchical society, would we still have different countries if there is no government? And if there are, how would you protect those borders?
I mean, I suppose
Countries?
that the purely libertarian argument is that your right to protect your border ends at your property line. And in a truly anarchist libertarian society, each state system would be its own property, would operate in a business. And it's interesting because what people fail to realize is governments operate very similar to businesses now, except for two crucial points. Governments can use force, and they can spend as irresponsibly as they want without suffering any consequences. So it's hard for me to see, as cynical as this sounds, how businesses wouldn't be even better. Of course, there would need to be, some understanding, and that they can't violate the non-aggression principle, etc. But I believe that the border would mostly just be protected again through private means. You can't come onto my property, is what it all boils down to.
And a follow-up question from Rumplebear. So you're saying we shouldn't give power to the lobsters?
No. Let me not be misunderstood. The lobsters are those who belong in charge of our society because they have clawed their way up, pun intended, to the top of the dominance hierarchy, and they deserve every single moment up there because the dominance hierarchy is based on competence.
And they're the only ones that can protect us from the crab people.
Oh my gosh! So
basically, you're saying that you hand your kids to corporations.
Yes. Yeah. No, well, that's kind of a silly question though, because first of all, not only am I speaking purely in theory when I discussed how an anarchist society would work in terms of private borders, but then one could argue that by not having a society set up in that way, you're handing your children to government. So
I think that might have been sarcastic, but I'm not entirely
okay,
sure.
all right. I hope so. I see. I don't know. It's hard to tell a line. Decepticon Captain Ledoux, also known as Sahara Ledoux, who works on some of my videos, said, "Seamus, why didn't you invite me to this stream? I'm low-key hurt." Well, I'll invite you now. I'll send you the link on Facebook. I apologize. I'm gonna bring her in. Now I feel bad. Bad llama. All right. Shoot more questions my way, folks. I'm pulling Sahara in.
Let me jump in. I'm going to ask you one question and jump out after you handle it. What do you think about this transhumanism right here? Let me get a link if you don't have any ideas about it. Oh jeez.
I'm sorry. I think you're kind of far away.
I'm so sorry. I wasn't prepared. Transhumanism. What do you think about this? And I've got links and shit if you need it.
Oh, okay. So the links are posted in the chat, or?
Yeah.
I don't. Are in the live chat or in the Google Hangouts chat?
Hold on. I'm sorry. Just continue and
It's all right.
I'll post some shit.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
I apologize. I just wanted to use that.
What's
lull.
that?
I just wanted to use the lull to ask the question. Anyway.
Okay. Can you give a shout out to? Hey, Seamus, can you give me a shout out if I admit to finding you attractive? Also, what are your thoughts on the accusations of race realism surrounding Young Turks? First of all, Brooklyn VTC, I'm extremely gorgeous, not just attractive, and I'm offended that you would admit it as though it's something you wouldn't want to admit to, finding me attractive. Of course, I'm kidding, but I think the real question here is, what are your thoughts on all the accusations surrounding race realism? I haven't heard those. What is going on with TYT? What's with these race accusations thrown at TYT? I was unfamiliar with it.
Oh, I think, was this about the Cenk Uygur thing that happened like 13 years ago, where he used to be like a right wing reactionary?
Yeah. Okay.
He was writing these crazy things.
I always view that through the lens of intersectional feminism and not race realism. So I apologize for not knowing what you're talking about. I think that's what he may be talking about. I remember he was saying some pretty crazy stuff back then. He was saying crazy stuff, but here's the thing. I believe there has to be some kind of statute of limitations on the things that you post on the internet and for how long they can be held against you. Because for as much as I dislike what Cenk Uygur does,
it's really obvious that he doesn't believe that stuff anymore. And I think it's kind of ridiculous that it's coming back to bite him in the butt all these years later, even though he has his views entirely separate from those expressed at that point in his life.
Yeah, I mean, like I mean, you could probably go back and find stuff. Good luck. Find stuff where I was writing political commentary as a Green, like 13 years ago.
You were a Green Party guy.
Yeah. I don't agree with most any of it anymore. I'm sure there's like some things I agree with. Like I don't care if gays get married.
Wow. Well, I should mention this. Decepticon Captain Ledoux, or Sahara Ledoux, who is one of the animators for Freedomtoons, is in here. Sahara, I just want to thank you for the lovely work that you have done.
Wow, I can't believe I'm here right now, low key. Thank you for employing me, Seamus. I'm like in awe that you even like my stuff, low key.
Why would you be in awe? I love your stuff. You do a great job.
I love your stuff too, Seamus. It's great.
Well, you have to love my stuff because you work for me, Sahara. You don't get a choice. This is Ancapistan. You have to live by my laws now. That's how libertarianism works.
It's not true. I'm Seamus's slave. He doesn't pay me for crap.
Yeah, exactly. This is how the market works, folks.
I can
Big
attest to
businesses
that.
take over and we enslave people.
I can attest. Seamus doesn't pay very well.
I'm really horrible, generally speaking. I'm not the kind of person you want to associate yourself with. And that's why Sahara doesn't have a choice to associate herself with me or not.
True.
Her icon right here, as you can see, was drawn by her. I really like the lighting that she throws into her pictures, so I've had her do some backgrounds in the past. I've also had her do a little bit of character animations or character animation for videos which have yet to be released. So Sahara is one of the lovely people who get results of the fact. And thank you for that. And you're also helping more of these cartoons get done. So thank you, folks. And Sahara, thank you for creating solid content for me and doing good work.
Well, thank you for employing me. It has been nothing but fun, and I'm gonna be super sad when I have to leave for boot camp. I'm gonna be super sad. I'm gonna be in boot camp, and I'm just gonna be thinking, wow, like I remember the good old days when I worked for Seamus.
Yeah, you're giving all of that up. You could have been a warrior for Freedomtoons, but instead you want to be a warrior for the U.S. government. So
yeah, I know. Sucks.
It's unfortunate, but it's just the fact of the matter. I would say, just so everyone realizes, all of the animation and Freedomtoons videos, there isn't a single Freedomtoons video which I have not done animation for. I still work on all of them heavily, but there are just certain things I don't have time to get around to. So I'll hire lovely people such as Sahara and my buddy Pat and the Kiesling brothers, Chris and Alex, and Anna to work on for me. And I appreciate it. And also, I can't forget Eileen Meneses, who does phenomenal layouts. She did the background in the Dave Rubin video and a few others which are yet to be released. She also did the background for the Trump's tax plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you saying that Trump is Hitler and he's going to gas the Jews? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
His gas plan?
Yes. I'm sorry. You know what, guys? I'm a bit flustered right now. Okay. I'm a little bit flustered. I just reached 100,000 subscribers. I can't even believe it's happening. I got a live stream with all these lovely people who care for me. I'm looking at the live chat. People are donating. There's just a lot going on right now. Not bad things, but a lot of things. And it's hard for me to keep my head in the game here, folks. I apologize.
You should have a solid 500,000 subscribers by now.
You will. You will.
Way to put me down, Sahara. Way to smack me off of cloud 9.
That was
only 1/5 of what I should be. Only 1/5 of what I should be. You are fired. Absolutely fired. I cannot believe it.
You couldn't survive without me.
Of the month.
That's true. I couldn't survive without Sahara's help on these animations. I would be dead right now. They knew higher. So,
yeah, I got to bail out. I got work tonight. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
Love you. I should mention to y'all, Jim and I do a podcast together called The Lolberts, and I use the word together loosely because I haven't co-hosted in a very long time because I've been so busy.
March.
But if y'all want to check out his podcast, it's called The Lolberts, LOLBERTS.
Very cool.
Thank you.
See you later, Jim. It was nice speaking with you.
Yeah,
we got
nice
another
speaking with you.
question. We got another question. It's coming in soft. I think it's from Steven, yeah?
Yeah, check out the Hangout chat. That's what I was talking about.
All right, so this is weird, but I'm in the Hangout chat and I can't see what you posted. I remember we had some Hangout chat problems with the Hangout chat last time, so I think I have to boot it up on another computer to see. And by the way, Steven is making an incredibly generous donation of $100 a month, so I got to give him a shout out for that, man. Thank you so much. You haven't been super vocal, and I think part of that is because I'm a windy fella and I've been talking over everybody. But I really want to thank you for that, man.
Yeah, no problem.
And this is really upsetting me. I cannot, so I can't see what you tried posting in the chat, man. I can't see any of these links. Do you want me to send you a link to the super chat and you can post a link in there?
It says that you've seen it already, though. I can see the icon.
How long ago did you post?
I can see it. It's the same thing that happened last time. There's two different Google Hangout chats going on. The one that's actually attached to the video Hangout, and then one that's like a group chat thing that I've been getting notifications for on my phone.
That's so weird. Let me try to open this Hangout on a separate platform. I think I might know what the problem is. Let me refresh.
While you're doing that, Serial Relic has a question for you. I've seen it asked many times. I don't know if it's been answered yet. What is your personal American dream?
Ooh. I mean, that's kind of
pretty vague and open-ended, but
yeah.
I guess your question could be that way as well. Or your answer, sorry.
Yeah, which most of them are, so it works. I would say that my personal American dream is to be able to live in a country where I'm able to live whatever lifestyle I see fit and pursue my goals without the fear of state intervention. And I believe that in many ways, I'm still able to live that dream. Our government's imperfect. There's a lot that isn't functioning in this country the way that it should. The state is certainly not being held accountable, at least not to the extent that the Constitution would suggest it should be. But that being said, it could be a lot worse, and I'm hoping to prevent it from getting worse with my work. I hope I can really spread a solid libertarian message and help others to live a free lifestyle absent state coercion.
Very good.
Yeah, so that is my question. We got a $5 from Michael. Thank you for that donation. Do you have a greater mission / objective for Freedomtoons? Also, do you watch Steven Crowder? I do watch Steven Crowder, and I think whether or not I have a greater mission or objective for Freedomtoons was sort of covered in the last question. I mean, I hope to be able to educate people on concepts of liberty and freedom and help the general population understand that the state system does not need to be as broken as it is. We can shrink the government if we try, and that it's completely okay to not be a left-leaning person. You know, the mainstream media often alienates those, or at least attempts to alienate those, who don't conform to the status quo of the dominant media culture. And I want to try to help undo some of that. That's my vision. Why do you hate all non-whites? That's a good question. I don't. Seamus, you need to make a video of a lobster who cleans his room and embodies the archetype of the hero so he can save his father from the underworld. That actually would be a good idea.
Totally want to do that for like a short film or something.
Yeah, that should actually be done. The fact that I haven't done that yet is really, frankly, a bit of a crime.
We can collaborate on that. We'll make it like an action adventure series.
Oh my gosh, that would be Morty the Crab or something. Like, name him after Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I just it looks like we've raised a little bit more money on Patreon too. So, I mean, pulling in some decent money on the super chat. I appreciate all of your very generous donations, pulling in money on Patreon. So, and I want to thank everyone who's chipping in to help Freedomtoons continue to be what it is. And as I mentioned, I believe that there is only room for improvement in the future. We're going to be getting better over time. I want to cover more educational content. And for the time being, actually, if you're insatiable and the one video per week is not enough, you can check out the Foundation for Economic Education's website. I've been collaborating on them with a series called Common Sense Soapbox with Seamus Coughlin, where we cover political and economic questions from a very objective and I think well thought out standpoint. It's pretty well researched stuff. And if y'all want to check that out, it would be a great help to me and the people at FEE. And it's also more content for you guys. So check out fee.org, please. Other questions, folks?
I'm looking through here right now.
I saw a question earlier that was asking about how you deal with like family members or get-togethers who have different political opinions than you.
Oh, a lucky person in this with. And when they are, this might be a shock to most of you, but every now and then, I do know to keep my mouth shut when appropriate. So if it's a situation where I know I'm not going to be able to do any good by discussing politics, I try not. But that doesn't happen very often, frankly. I think while there's a very vocal minority of crybabies and snowflakes, for the most part, people are actually open to reasonable discussions. And I say this as a person who's attending an art school. This should be snowflake central, but I find I've had more reasonable conversations than I ever anticipated I would. Hey, are you going to start reposting to minds.com? I'm thinking about it. It's another good question. I'm going to take a couple more questions. Then we're going to go off the air, and I'm going to have just a private hangout with just the people donating in the stream, or I should say just the people who are in the Google Hangout. So I'm going to field a few more questions from the people in the live chat, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So... can you voice some Nicolas Cage lines as Ben Shapiro? All right.
Do it.
Yeah.
Let me think about this. I'm trying to think of like a Nicolas Cage quote. I regret to say I haven't followed his career as closely as I should.
I'm really upset with you right now, Seamus.
Okay, all right. Let me get this together. Nicolas Cage. What would Nicolas Cage do?
The bees. Okay, folks, the bees are in my eyes. Oh my gosh, the bees. Oh, the bees. How did it get burned? How did it get burned? How did it get burned? Okay, folks. Do you know what alphabetical order is? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, folks.
Can you do dirty hair? Dirty Harry is Jordan Peterson.
Now I know what you're thinking. Did he just fire 5 shots or 6? Well, considering this is the 44 Magnum, the deadliest handgun known to man, you're going to have to ask yourself a question. Are you feeling lucky? Well, are you, punk? Bucko? Well, are you, Bucko?
Matthew Lee said, I love you. Matthew, I love you too. What was that? Someone mentioned somebody was Sahara.
SpongeBob SquarePants, all the way from Bikini Bottom, asks, what do you think of the stock market plunge? Is it Trump's fault?
Everything is Trump. So I don't know. You see my goals. I want to become more well-educated on economic matters. I've looked into these kinds of things a little bit, but I'm not as well-informed on the stock market as I could be. So unfortunately, I can't give you much of an answer there. I think the fact of the matter is, I don't even need to say this because it's really self-evident, but the left is going to blame Trump for everything bad that happens within the economy, including the stock market. The right is going to blame the left and claim that Trump is only responsible for the good things happening within the economy. So it's annoying, but it's just the way it is. Jordan Peterson sounds like Elmo. How many Jews died in the Holocaust?
Cenk Uygur as Emperor Palpatine.
Okay.
And you can answer that question. You can answer that question.
Okay, right. I am the Senate. Okay. All right. Wait, Palpatine's the one who said I am the Senate, right? I'm not much of a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So, okay, they say, oh, it's a republic. Of course, right? Okay. I'm the Senate, right? Okay. I am the Senate, right? Use Elmo. No, Kermit. What's the deal with... What is the deal with airline food? Maybe Ben Shapiro could be the next Jerry Seinfeld if he just got on stage. I know that Dave Rubin actually asked Ben Shapiro if he would ever do stand-up. And Shapiro said no, but I would love to see that.
Honestly, gang, what's the deal with airline food? Okay, folks. Don't you just hate it when you're in the bathroom, okay, and there's no toilet paper? It's like, what's the deal, gang? Don't you just hate it when your wife's a doctor and at 3 a.m, the government bursts into your house and forces her to treat a patient because you're living in socialist Scandinavia? Okay, gang? Honestly, folks.
Does Trump embody the archetypal mythos of the hero? Absolutely, he does. Of course. Donald Trump is the archetypal mythos of the hero. Anyone who's striving to do anything good is embodying the archetypal spirit of Donald Trump. Did Ruben get back to you on your offer of a collab? No, unfortunately. But I haven't checked Twitter, so maybe. I would love to collaborate with any of those folks. So if any of you guys are either donors or friends on Facebook or Twitter or are connected through social media to any of these larger like conservative, classic, liberal, libertarian personalities, I would love to collaborate with almost any of them. So let me know. Cenk Ugr's Nicolas Cage, you can't handle the truth. Or Jack Nicholson, I'm sorry, you can't handle the truth. Okay, right. Okay. So you want the truth, right? Okay. But you can't handle the truth, right? Okay. I can handle the truth. All right? Okay. Okay. Right. Do you think Alex Jones is always right? Yeah. I think it's a safe assumption. To me, if Alex Jones says something, he's right. The comment I got is Alex Jones is breaking the conditioning. Yes, he is. Jesse Deal said, I could talk to Crowder for you. Please do. Send him what you consider to be my funniest videos or funniest video to get his attention or reach out to him and tell him I am a fan of his work and would love to work with him in some capacity or appear on his show if he's ever short on guests. And can you do Ben Shapiro singing
Okay, folks. Well, first of all, I celebrate Hanukkah, but I'm willing to sing a Christmas song because America's a melting pot and I will partake in other cultures. Dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go. My wife is a doctor, bells on bobtails ring. Socialists should die. What fun it is to tell people my wife's a doctor tonight. Oh, you're wasting my time. You're wasting my time if you're a socialist. Oh, what fun it is to melt kids with my laser vision. That's Ben Shapiro singing. Thank you, folks. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly,
Your art.
Thank you. I am art. That's too kind of you.
Your art.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That this made my day. So can you make a video where Game of Thrones characters oh my gosh. So I have had plenty of friends of mine actually ask me to do different parodies of like Game of Thrones or Star Wars or the Avengers with the different political figures I parody, and there's definitely something coming.
Yay.
Yes. So, but I should get healthcare. I should just get it for free. I'm reading some of the comments and the voices. You're great on live streams. Can't wait to see you in interviews. Thank you, Chuck E. Cheese. I appreciate that. I would love to do an interview. I'm generally decent with people, and I would love to, again, sit down and chat with Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro or Dave Rubin and just apologize profusely for the videos that I've made about them. I agree. Dave Rubin is a Pokemon. Yeah, that's true. European politics with a question mark. My answer is yes. When will you do Steven Crowder? Well, that question could be answered a number of ways. This can easily go to 1 million subs. Thank you, babe. I appreciate that. By the way, I think Steve, was that you who you just chimed in? I didn't hear you because I think your mic is low.
I just fixed it up, so I got on
nice.
my computer. And
yeah, I can hear you a lot better.
Yeah, I'll talk later.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I understand.
Get all my shit together. Yeah, I just want to show you some stuff and see what you got to say about it.
Yeah, definitely. again, if there's anything you want to plug or promote, you're donating really generously. So obviously, use this platform to get in anything you want to get in before I end the stream.
Seamus and his ideas because they're nice.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Steven. Really, genuinely. Thank you.
Plug
man.
yourself. Go ahead, plug
Thank
yourself.
you. Thank you, man. And that was rude. What was rude? I didn't mean to be rude to anyone. I'm sorry. Can you lick your elbow? No. Is Steven broadcasting from inside an 18-wheel meter? I'm not sure. Apologies. What directions do you think Europe is going in? That's a good question. Not in any good direction. It depends, because there's obviously a number of different nations which compose Europe. Some of them are better off than others. I hear Poland is doing a bit better than Germany, for example. So I think just that statement alone should give you a solid idea on where I stand in terms of which policies these countries should be adhering to. A bit of a dog whistle there. Am I offended? I don't know. Cereal or oatmeal? That's a good question. Oatmeal's a bit cheaper, and I do enjoy the taste, but I gotta say, I'm a sucker for Frosted Flakes.
Good choice.
Question from the chat: root beer or Dr. Pepper?
Oh, root beer all the way. IBC root beer particularly. That's what it's about. Suck my chin, libertarian maggot. Okay.
Good input. Good comment.
Yeah. Wow. Can you do Steven Crowder pretending to be Cenk Uygur? I'm sorry, guys, but I don't think I'm ready to do Steven Crowder. I just don't know that I'm able to. I'm sorry. I see. It actually makes me sad when I can't do some of these impressions because I want to please you guys. I get these questions asking me. I get requests to do different impressions, and I want to, but I can't do all of them. I wonder if Shapiro liked the Thanksgiving video. He did. He tweeted it and said, "This is a documentary." And actually, one of my fans mentioned that he emailed Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro laughed and said, "Yeah, my wife said this is what Thanksgiving is actually like for us." So I love that, and I think Ben Shapiro is really great and has a solid sense of humor about himself. You should do a video Crowder impression of the bearded vulgar Canadian guy. Anybody to the right of it? Can you do Jar Jar Binks? Oh, I haven't seen Star Wars in a really long time. I know that Jar Jar Binks is generally held as the best character in the franchise. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
I do this thing. Like it's kind of like that. Is that Jar Jar? Is that what he sounds like? I don't know. I haven't heard his voice in a while.
Something like
Pretty
that.
much.
It's like yes, I do the thing. Like it's almost like almost kind of like a golem, like stupid fat hobbitses. Like it's really. Honestly, dang, if you can't see that universal health care. What if Cenk Uygur was just calling?
Honestly, dang it, Bobby, if you can't see that propane is better for America, you're wasting my time. If you want a universal charcoal system, then god dang it, you're wrong.
It's Trudeau in slightly deeper voice. Gavin McInnes impression. Can't do Gavin McInnes, I'm sorry. But I can kind of do Bernie Sanders. College is a human right. My voice is a little too dry, but hold on, let me give a crack at it. First, in America, we had slavery, and now we have college that is not for free. These were both travesties that we need to correct as a country. That's kind of. I'm starting to lose my voice, so it could be better than that, but that's the best Bernie Sanders I could do right now. I'm sorry, guys. What other questions? A few more. I'll be able to take a few more questions from the live chat. Then I'm going to go offline and just speak to my patrons. So Ted Cruz impression. Ted Cruz impression. So this is funny because I did a video making fun of Ted Cruz a very long time ago. I was creating these animated videos called The Echo Chamber with Dr. Mac for a right-wing news aggregate called TCS News. It was back in about 2014. And of course, I later rebooted the series on my channel. Some of you are familiar with Dr. Mac. But one of the first episodes I did was with Ted Cruz. And the impression of him I did was basically just a sort of high-pitched, like Texas accent talking about Ronald Reagan. Like, honestly, I'm pretty much Ronald Reagan. If you can't see that I'm Ronald Reagan, and you haven't been studying politics. I had him read like Green Eggs and Ham on air and stuff. It was great because that's what he was known for back then. Before we made fun of Ted Cruz for being the Zodiac killer, we made fun of him for reading Green Eggs and Ham on air. What anti-SJW skeptic YouTubers would you want to have in future cartoons? That's a good question. Like, so Chris Ray Gun has commented on some of my stuff in the past. I definitely like his work a lot. I'd love to include him in something, especially because his music videos are pretty great, and I've been wanting to do more musical content. So that's someone who'd be great. But I mean, generally speaking, most of them are people I'd be willing to collaborate with because I think a lot of them are doing good work to spread a message and promote a set of ideas,
Wouldn't
which
Raygun be
are
a
not
little
only
bit
valuable.
risky for you?
What's that?
Wouldn't that be a little bit risky for you? You kind of try to keep it clean, right? That's your deal.
Oh yeah. Well, what do you mean by risky? What do you mean by clean?
Well, I mean, did you watch his show with some black guy?
Yes. No. I agree that so some of them are a little bit vulgar, and I do
It's
like
gonna
to keep
get you
my
in
content.
trouble. You're white. You're not. Yeah. You better-
That's true. So I do like to keep my content relatively clean. So if I were to collaborate with them, I would, obviously want to set up certain boundaries. But I hear what you're saying. That's a reasonable concern.
You want Chris, but not Chris, right? You want.
Yes. Hey, so we got Androvin once again, another donation. Thank you for $5. Hey, Seamus, speak on abortion in light of the last half of the Fifth Amendment and Declaration of Independence. Ooh, see, I should be better researched on the Bill of Rights. The second half of the Fifth Amendment. Fifth Amendment. Declaration. And the Declaration of Independence. Well, I mean, before even getting into the second half of the Fifth Amendment, which, if I'm not mistaken, the Fifth Amendment deals with the judicial system and whether or not you can try someone for it. Sort of sets up the parameters. Is that correct? Or am I totally off base here? Did I fail the Constitution test in 7th grade? The world will never know. So no, the Fifth Amendment basically states, again, if I'm not mistaken here, that you can't try somebody for the same crime. If someone's already been ruled innocent, you can't reopen the case and try them again once the final verdict has been delivered.
The second half says, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness as a crime against himself or deprived of what. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I don't know how I missed that because everyone says I plead the Fifth. Okay, yeah, the right to not self-incriminate.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. My apologies. See, I told you I'm having some brain farts today. But abortion in light of the last half of the Fifth Amendment and Declaration of Independence. Well, in terms of the Declaration of Independence and our founding documents, generally speaking, I think it makes it clear that all humans are, as stated verbatim, endowed with inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to strip any group of people of the right to life simply because their life is inconvenient to the person who created them, I think is totally unconstitutional. In terms of how that relates to the last half of the Fifth Amendment, I see that that's tricky because when you get into the logistics of how you would prosecute something like abortion, which I'm sure is more or less what you're getting at, you run into some really complicated and even confusing ethical questions. Who do you punish, the woman or the doctor, etc.? My take on this is that I believe most women who get abortions, and I know women who have gotten abortions. It's not a decision I agree with, not something that I want to be legal, but I don't hate them. I don't think they're bad people. I think oftentimes they're just misinformed. They don't fully understand what they're doing, and so I don't know that they're fully morally culpable to the extent that we would imprison them for it. But that being said, yeah, I think that organizations such as Planned Parenthood, which profit off of the sale of fetal tissue and encourage women to get abortions so that they can not only pull in hundreds of thousands, sums of tax-exempt money performing these abortion procedures, but then also go on to sell the tissue. Those organizations should be investigated and prosecuted criminally. So hopefully that answers the question. Can you do Dave Rubin interviewing Stalin? By the way, am I still here? Did I cut out?
No, you're here.
No, you're still here.
We got you.
Okay. Mr. Spoon has asked, what is your opinion on the genocide of Fluebels in World War I? Well, they didn't kill all Fluebels, so it wasn't that serious. To clarify, I'm talking about life, liberty, and property being taken without due process. I know you agree. Oh, okay, so this is what I was confused about. I wasn't sure if you were asking how the legal system should protect people accused of abortion, or whether or not the legal system has a place to prevent abortion. And it seems that you were asking whether or not the legal system has a place or responsibility or right to prevent abortion. And no, I would agree that it does. And I think there's certainly a hotly, how do I put this? It's heavily debated within the libertarian community whether or not it's consistent with our principles to be pro-life, or whether we should be pro-choice. Again, I would argue you can be pro-life and still consider yourself to be a libertarian. It's just a different interpretation of when life begins. And if life does begin, as I believe the science suggests, at conception, then that life must be protected under the law. So we've got some more shit posting. Let me find other questions. What is your favorite firearm? That's a good question. So I'm not crazy about guns. I do own some, and I view it more or less as a tool which I hope to never have to use, but one which I practice with in case I am in a situation where a gun is necessary. But that being said, in terms of like handguns, there isn't a specific handgun I love, but I really do like revolvers. I would love to have a Luger or something like that. That would be amazing. That's tough to say. I do own a Mini 14, which is a great gun. I recommend it. I got mine for a really good price. So, I mean, those are sort of my favorite guns, the ones I would recommend. I'm not going to go into detail of what my arsenal is composed of, because that's no one's business, but those are some of the guns that I like. Please answer the question. Please answer my question. What recommendation do you have for a young libertarian like myself who lives in a family of progressives, and also I love my family? That is a really good question, man. So first of all, you have to understand that while you do want to respect other people's beliefs to some extent, it's more important to respect the person than it is to respect the beliefs. And if you don't challenge somebody's perspective on something that they're very clearly wrong about, I think that actually shows a lack of respect for them and their ability to reason. So I would say you want to challenge your family on a lot of this, but you want to do it in a friendly way. And of course, you want to keep the peace on some level. But first of all, I want to commend you for being able to escape not only the societal programming, which would suggest that libertarianism and conservatism are totally evil, and outside of that, which it's even ethically permissible to be thought, but to actually step outside of your family's rules and boundaries and recognize that libertarianism is a much more consistent lens through which to view the world than progressivism is. I have to commend you for it, man. In terms of advice, it's hard to say because I haven't been in that situation, but I hope that's been an adequate response. I mean, like I said, challenge them on some things, but try to be friendly about it. All right, I'm going to take one. I just realized you have a Patreon, so I'm giving 100 a month. Keep up the good work. Wow, Jesse, deal. Thank you so much. So Jesse's donating 100 a month, which obviously I greatly appreciate. And also the people working for me greatly appreciate, because you're helping create more work for them and you're helping more of these videos get created. So round of applause, Jesse, everyone who enjoys my cartoons. Thank Jesse, and also the other people in this stream with me, because they're really, really helping me create this stuff. And if you're a fan, of the channel, I also want to thank you as well, because it's, again, just mind-boggling and incredible to me that I have 100,000 subscribers, and I love having this audience. So on that note, I want to say thank you all so much for joining this live stream. The last comment I'll read out loud, just because it caught my eye, was libertarians should be in jail. I agree with that. To the rest of you in the live stream, once again, I'm truly humbled by this entire experience. Starting this YouTube channel was certainly a risk for me. I know that I've definitely limited certain career opportunities for myself, because the fact of the matter is, I work in animation and the media is overwhelmingly left-leaning. And while there are many conservatives in animation and in media generally, they're usually quiet about it. I am not. This hurts my bottom line to some extent, but I'm saying what I believe is the truth, and I feel I'm being rewarded for it by my patrons and by my subscribers. So I just want to thank all of you so much, and have a good one. God bless, and here's to another 100,000 subs.